Flash is coming up at the top of the staircase. There's an easy kill for Hyper in a second and a third. Dark Zero in full control. A triple for Grixer, and there's the quad. United.
Great teamwork. Soniqs take the lead again.
Disrupt the best of the best.
His teammate's gone, and what's this? He's got a Nitro Cell as well.
TSM!
Tempo Storm absolutely storms through this matchup. Oxygen takes the series.
Spacestation Gaming are your world champions!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to day number 2 of the NA Major Qualifiers. You and I, we booked a ticket front row seats to see which one of the last 3 teams that are remaining are going to get that spot to join TSM, Oxygen, and of course Dark Zero, the NA Major, the last NA Major that we had before the NA Finals. So this is going to be very important. But once again, welcome to the desk. I'm going to be your host, Veli. I'm here with Jesse and Jacob. But Jesse, first off with you, yesterday, already done, we saw some amazing matches. What's expected for today, man?
Today is expected to be even better. I mean, I think that we ended yesterday on a really high note. That final map between Mirage and DG was one of the craziest maps we've seen in a long time. I expect that to ramp up even higher today. With so much on the line, we'll finally have a winner. It's going to be a good day.
Jacob, how much sleep did you get last night with all the excitement you had for your very first day in Tier 1 as an analyst?
It wasn't a whole lot. I think I was not able to fall asleep because Twitter just kept blowing up telling me how much I suck at this job. But at the end of the day, it's all par for the course. What we had yesterday was really, really exciting. And like I said yesterday, the quality of matches that we see today should only go up from here.
I like your predictions. Twitter might be right about this. I'm playing. You're doing all right, Jacob. But ladies and gentlemen, we have some amazing matches today. First off, we have 2 best of 3s, and then the finals is going to be a banger, best of 5. I don't know who's going to be there yet. We have 3 awesome teams, but let's take a look at the excuse me, that's going to come up soon. But just a reminder, the major that all these teams are playing for right now will take place November 13th through the 15th. So make sure you tune in because we'll all be there, and I hope to see you guys there too. But before we jump into the matches, an exciting discussion to break down these teams, first off, a word from our sponsors. Okay, I know I teased the bracket before the throw to the sponsors, but here goes the bracket this time around. But let's talk about yesterday. Some amazing matches went down. Spacestation clapped up Mirage, the #1 team in Canada. The Soniqs eked out a win against Disrupt Gaming. Very exciting game. It went down to the final map. In the losers bracket, Mirage were the first team to get eliminated, with Disrupt Gaming moving on. And that team right there at the bottom of your screen, you see that TBD ahead of them? That will be the loser between Spacestation and Soniqs, the first matchup of today. And it's about time to jump right into that. So let's bring the camera right back onto the desk. And fellas, listen, world champs, Spacestation Gaming, we all know them. This is going to be exciting. Facing off against Soniqs, though, we don't know how this is going to turn out. Jacob, we saw them yesterday, and you're kind of skeptical about their performance moving forward. You're not all the way sold yet that they're back in their championship form.
Not quite, because that game against Mirage was an absolute slaughter. There's not really you can say other than Mirage didn't seem like they really showed up to play yesterday. We were making fun of them on the desk because we didn't know if they really had a shot. Their roster is stacked, though, of an entire world championship caliber roster. There's nothing about this team that is necessarily bad, but I would consider their game against Mirage yesterday to be more of a glorified warm-up, and it's something that they can carry into today, knowing that they did an amazing job dismantling the Canadians yesterday.
All right, and Jesse, you spoke about some changes when it comes to this roster that's been going on. What are these changes, and what do you mean by them?
All right, so I teased it before yesterday's matchup, and I'm going to break it down for you guys today. Some role changes have been made on Space Station. It's the first role changes they've had in a long time. For the first one, Rampy is moving over to the Ash role with Faults picking up Sledge. And if you look at the stats from the last matchup, we'll pull them up on your screen now. This really did seem to help out the team. Their attacks went fantastic. Faults had a banger day, 19-6.
Wow.
Again, playing operators that he hasn't played before. He spent the entirety of Stage 2 for the regular season on Ash. That was his only attacking operator. Now he's busting out the Sledge. He's letting Rampy play that Ash. And he's finding a lot of success with that. I think this freshness has really helped out the team and gotten them a lot of success so far. On defense, there's also some more role changes with Faults moving more to a roam position. Canadians playing a lot more anchor roles this time around.
Yeah.
So I really do like the fact that these changes are being made, and I think it's huge that, you know, they came into their first map with all these changes, and they got the 7-0. Like, that's a huge boost of confidence to walk into a game like that and really dominate with such a new play style that they're bringing to the table.
Jacob, Mirage didn't come to play against Space Station yesterday. Maybe they did, and Space Station was just that much better. But you said that you think that was just a light warm-up form. Going against the Soniqs now, Spacestation Gaming, what do you want to see happen to this team for them to accelerate back into that #1 spot?
See, it's not just a matter of how they can do against the Soniqs. That is going to determine whether or not they go to the grand final later today, and then if they can go to the major. The thing that I need to see from SSG throughout the entire rest of this qualifier, or any team that goes on to the major, they need to knock the socks off the other teams that are still left. Otherwise, I don't really know if they've got a chance against Dark Zero, TSM, and Oxygen. They finished first place in stage 1, did SSG, and now they're below everybody else, which means that everyone that's already in the major has done a much better job adapting to rapidly changing playstyles than SSG has. They need to knock the Sonic socks off and then go do it again in the grand final later if they want to have a major shot.
Yeah, hey, let's see if it's gonna happen. But speaking about the Sonics getting their socks blown off, let's talk about this team right here, led by Super. You guys know him. You've seen him from Rogue. You see him on Twitter. You see him just about everywhere. This team is something special. They have two European imports. They have Iconic the rookie. And just also, they have Easily. Easily has actually been popping off lately. And Jacob, when you look at this roster, okay, Slebin, he had a slow start. Iconic wasn't really stage 1-esque until later on in stage, you know, the middle of stage 2, right? But Gonfi is still warming up. He hasn't found his way yet. What needs to happen with the Sonics roster? Because Space Station, I mean, this isn't a team that you look at and say, yeah, we could beat them, just 50-50.
Well, the thing is, even though Slebin's kind of fallen off a little bit in stats, Gomfi has had to be the person he's come up in his stead, playing on those aggressive roles and making sure that he can kind of fill the void that Slebin left. We did see, you know, a very weird shift between stage 1 and stage 2 Sonics, because they got off to an 0-2 start. They were in the losers group in phase 2 of stage 2, and we didn't really understand how they got there because their stage 1 performance was indicative of a much stronger team overall. Yes. But Slebin slips a little bit. Iconic doesn't have nearly his old form, even though we probably will see him, you know, at least try to show off as much as he did yesterday today, because he was really, really good yesterday. Slebin didn't do nearly as much. Gomfi's had to come up, Easily's had to come up, everyone has had to come up around this team, and Iconic, he had a field day yesterday. 33-26. He was doing his job, and he was playing mostly Sledge.
Incredible, incredible. In his playstyle matches with his name, Iconic, 33 kills, like Jacob said, but what's important is that he had 5 opening kills. And when it comes to his roster, Jesse, you were breaking down yesterday about how they really needed to capitalize off of these first picks and not be a victim of it as well. So what is your thought when it comes to that area?
Well, I thought that watching those last games, you know, Disrupt versus the Sonics, Sonics are doing a really great job of capitalizing on those opening picks. They were winning rounds when they got that opening kill. And I went back and I looked at the stats. Because of the way the maps worked out, Sonics actually lost more rounds than they won. They had a 49% win rate overall in terms of rounds. But when you look at just the rounds where they got the opening pick, that number skyrockets up to 87% success rate when they got that opening kill, which is incredible for a team to have. Usually that sits around 65 to 70%, just for a little bit of context. So Sonics, you know, that should help them a ton, but the thing you gotta ask yourself then is, okay, well, how often are Space Station giving up the opening pick? You know, how do they stand in regards to most other teams with, you know, this specific section?
Right.
Worst in the league for opening kill percentages in the regular season for Stage 2. They got fewer opening picks than any other team in the NAL US division, and that's a big area where Sonics can capitalize on. This might be bad for SSG.
I don't know what to say about that breakdown, Jacob. I'm a little scared for Soniqs right now, but let's see what maps these teams are going to play on. The map veto phase has been done. They will pop up at the bottom of your screen. And Jesse, once again, this is your expertise, Big Brain. Tell me what you see.
Villa, I'm so happy for Villa. Pay close attention to this map. It's going to be one of the highest level Villa games you've ever seen. Spacestation will choose it. They play here a lot. They're 4-1 in the NAL, only losing to TSM at the major. But Soniqs, this is their home base. They love Villa. They're 5-0, undefeated on this map in the NAL. They're going to rock the socks off of SSG, and we're going to have a great game for sure. Then we head to Oregon, and this is kind of sort of the flip side. Both these teams have been shaky, I'd say, on Oregon. Soniqs played a lot more. But the recent defenses, I would say, have not been looking too good. Space Station have gotten an 8-7 win and a 7-8 loss, so not great for them either. And then we go to Coastline, which we saw Soniqs play just yesterday. They did play pretty well on it. It took 12 rounds, but they got the dub. And Space Station as well. We played this just yesterday against Mirage, and their only loss recently was to TSM at the major again. So strong maps, I'd say 1 and 3 for both squads. Okay. Oregon's going to be tough for both of them. This is a really competitive map pool.
All right, Jesse, I'm excited. You're usually the number guy, the big brain guy. That was a hype segment right there. I'm ready for this matchup. And Jacob, from everything Jesse just broke down for us in regards to maps, now time for predictions. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Seriously, put the curse away. Who has the best chance of advancing to the finals first?
You can't put the curse away, Veli. It's just always there. It permeates everything that I say about how these teams work, but I'll keep this short and sweet. Okay. I don't think either Disrupt or the Soniqs demonstrated enough in their match against one another yesterday to prove that they are better than an SSG team that wiped the floor with Mirage. Granted, Mirage still didn't really show up yesterday, but I'm going with what I think is a safe bet. I'm pretty sure SSG can take this one and go to that grand final with one map advantage.
All right, you got it. The Space Boys for Jacob and Jesse. Who you rocking with today?
Listen, I've sided with Jacob in every prediction so far in the qualifier, but this matchup, I think it has potential for an upset. Space Station chose Soniqs' best map as their pick, and the stats where Space Station really struggle is what we saw Soniqs capitalize off of yesterday. I'm gonna go Soniqs. I'm feeling like we might see them advance to the upper bracket finals. Whether the grand final sees the same thing, we'll have to wait and see. But this is one of those matches where I feel like the upset potential is a lot stronger than people are giving it credit for.
Jacob, what do you got to say about that, man? Did Jesse finally lose his mind? Did he lose it all? Did COVID get the best of him?
We were in perfect lockstep with one another's minds. We were in a Vulcan mind meld up until now with how our predictions were going, but now I have to fight against this man? You think I want to fight against Big Brain over here? That's not about to go well for me, man.
All right. So, Jesse, you got to put just a little bit of context right now. So, you chose the Soniqs. If it was a type of play style or just a player that really is going to be the X factor in this matchup, what's it going to be? What do you want to see against SSG?
I think it's a team thing. You know, I think that the team is playing better on defenses. I think their attacks have been really strong all throughout the season. You know, and it's that thing where they can identify where defenses are weak, and they can really capitalize off of that. The Lion play we saw from yesterday, the fact that we're going back to Coastline, I really did like what I saw from Soniqs on Coastline. Not that SSG were bad there. Okay. The map pool in general, I'm really worried that Space Station picked Villa. That's so odd to me, and they've obviously got a game plan, but I just don't know that was the right call.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen at home, I know you're ready to watch some matchups. The lobby is almost ready. We are almost there. But before they start that game, I'm going to need you to do me a favor once more. We usually have community polls. We put up some great highlights and updates on Twitter. So I'm going to ask you to follow our socials right underneath this. You trust me, you don't want to miss out on what we put out on our social media pages. But the first matchup of the day, Space Station Gaming against the Soniqs, and this could be Jacob's first chance at beating Big Brain here in the prediction of contest. So before we throw it over to the casters, we're gonna have a short break, and after that, our first matchup of the day. I'll see you soon.
Hey folks, Jess Brohard here, and I have with me here easily, I'm here with Iconic from the Soniqs, gonna talk to me a little bit about the upcoming North American qualifier for the major. So you and the Soniqs have been struggling a little bit in both stages. You were placed into the losers group, and then here you are once again heading to the qualifiers. I can't imagine this is an ideal kind of situation for you to be in, but what's going on? Is there anything that needs to be addressed as a team?
We kind of started out the stage a bit rough with like just how we were playing as a team, kind of weren't in sync that much.
I think coming into the first phase, we just put a lot of unnecessary pressure on ourselves and kind of just got in our own head about it and just started playing bad, fell into a slump, and we lost our first 2 games. And then after that, we kind of just like had a realization as a team, like we addressed all of our issues and we're playing how we should be playing again now.
We're looking to really up the game in the quals and really show what we're made of.
So it sounds like you're a lot more confident going forward and feeling like you've addressed all those issues that needed to be ironed out?
Yeah, definitely feel a lot more confident. I feel like we addressed all the issues and we just have to stop focusing on so much about other teams and just focus about on our team and play to our strengths.
It's just like consistency, so we have to work on that. And then it's just going to be 2 long days, so I mean, we're ready for it.
So of course we don't know how the bracket will shake down and exactly whether you will be facing off against SSG and or Mirage, but let's say that happens. Let's say you find yourself facing Mirage. What do you expect for that matchup?
I expect a 2-0. We beat them last time we played them, so I mean, I'm not really worried about them.
And then what about SSG?
SSG is actually a team that I haven't played in probably over a year now due to the format, so I would actually be really excited to play SSG. I have a lot of good friends on that team, and I know they're really good players, so then they're obviously the world champs, so playing the best teams always brings out the best in you, so.
We just got to address the mistakes, but I don't plan on losing this weekend.
That about does it for me then. Thank you so much. I love where your head's at. Sounds like you are very confident heading into this weekend, which is fantastic, so best of luck.
All right, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. We are just moments away from starting out our first match of the day here. Spacestation Gaming going up against the Soniqs, and there's quite a bit on the line for this matchup, as is the usual case here at the NAL. And this match is no different. The winner of this match not only gets to move on into the grand finals, but they will also secure themselves the 1-map advantage in said finals, so quite a bit to fight for. And interestingly enough, despite the matchup, a split decision on the analysis desk for who's going to be taking this one. Stokes, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, put me on the spot early in the day. I respect it, John. I respect it. Honestly, I feel like our good friend on the desk had some good analysis there, Jesse, talking about the Susquehanna Sonics. Going through those stats this morning and breaking everything down, those opening picks really stood out to me. And bringing that up against SSG and, you know, what has been happening inside of the regular season, that really could be the tipping point for this team. But personally speaking, I'm still feeling really, really strong about SSG simply because of what we saw yesterday. Just because it's Mirage does not mean that SSG is not being dominant inside of this qualifier. I think walking into this, we're guaranteed these 3 maps. We're going to go to Oregon. The real test is who can possibly get through this absolute gauntlet today.
And of course, we want to know who you think is going to continue to help propel their team into the grand final. Go ahead over to our social media account, most notably our Twitter account at R6esportsNA, and submit your vote to our community poll question. We want to know whether it's going to be Fultz or Iconic stepping up to the plate and bringing that better performance to propel their team forward. Feel free to let us know, and we'll have the results and talk a little bit about whether you guys were right or not a bit later on during the show. The map pool is also a very interesting part of this matchup now that we can take a deeper look at that as well. And it's really interesting, especially with the way Jesse described it here, because Space Station picks into it. They've got 2 very close recent wins on it, both against OXG and Dark Zero. But like I said, they're incredibly close. One of them was an OT. One of them was a 7-5, if I recall correctly. But on the opposite side of the coin, you look at the Sonics, and their wins as well deserve being looked at. They've got a win against Disrupt, a win against Mirage, they've got a win against Dark Zero, and a win against Tempo Storm. So possibly Space Station believing that they have the greater edge, given that, of course, they're the more experienced team, and their opponents that they took down were of greater strength, obviously with the Dark Zero one being kind of the tie point in that matchup. Either way, it is time to get into Villa now and see which of these 2 teams is going to be able to come out on top. Let's head into the map, take a look at our vetoes here, and see which operators are going to be getting knocked out of the pool first.
Oh, Sonics with a really, really early Ying ban here, which is really unorthodox. We haven't seen Ying get banned a lot in recent history. This is, you know, really telling of the respect coming in for Ying and the Ying Glass meta that we used to see all the time. Thatcher, ban from SSG. This is really, really rudimentary. So for the offense, it's really going to be the Thatcher ban that hinders a lot of things. Ying, I'm thinking just more of a proactive ban to try and take that off the table so we don't see as much Glass Ying play.
Valkyrie also getting removed here. Like I talked about quite a bit yesterday, she's been more and more of a common ban as of late, just due to the intel she provides and the fact that she can get it outside of the map as well, which can be quite a bit of a wrinkle to deal with, especially if it's at a pivotal point that the attackers are looking to use to get into the building. Wamai is also going to follow that up. We've got quite a couple power positions for Wamai to play into and really to just set himself up for success with that deployable shield. So we're going to be getting rid of him as well with the final ban from the Sonics being locked in. That'll conclude the ban phase, and we'll move into the first round here where it's looking like we're going to go right into an AVG defense for the Sonics.
It should be some fun. We have a Mira along for the ride here, so it looks like the Sonics are already planning on trying to prevent a vault plant. We'll see how SSG want to go about things, but as soon as the words leave my mouth, we already have our first 6 pick in for the day, folks. Maestro off the board, as well as Thinking Nade getting rid of the Nomad, adopting Dokkaebi into the lineup. I think this is really, really strong here. SSG has always been really strong about holding down their flanks by themselves. They don't need any utility to really do it, so bringing Dokkaebi along for the trip just to add a little bit more intel gathering to that lineup is definitely going to help them out a lot.
All right, so we'll see the setups. There's been a couple variances here with the setup on Aviation Games depending on the team. And Sonics, yeah, this is kind of the one I was expecting. This is one we've been seeing them use more often than not, even in the regular days of play for the NAL. So most of the walls are going to end up getting reinforced here, but we will see that single panel that you already saw getting shotgunned through a couple seconds ago. That's going to be left soft. That's going to leave open a bit of counterplay for the defenders to try and pepper some fire out against any of the attackers looking to take early control of Study. Also just makes it a little more difficult to get in there in the first place due to the crossfire that it opens up for the gun vault player for any attackers that would want to try and execute from Study into the inside of bar, which is the most common route we see attacking teams take nowadays.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to crossfires, this site has some of the most going on. I mean, you have so many things that are centralized around that study area, as well as bookshelf into 90. There's a lot of things that both of these teams have to respect and how they have to adapt in the mid game to really win this site over for either side. So this is mostly on the Sonics, though, and how they're going to handle study. SSG is going to be going for the master clear here. You can already see Rampy downstairs with these drones in tow to make sure that this side of the map is clear. Bosco with the early cutoff as well on board. It might be early in the morning, but these guys are already looking strong.
Take a look here now. SSG, like Stokes was talking about, they're going for the very early clear on the north side of the map, and they'll conclude that pretty early on here. You can see 3 drones are moving through with full speed to try and check everything out here. Probably a little bit of investigation being done to back down on the first floor as well, just to be extra safe about it. But away from that, though, talking about the actual presence from the Sonics, there's not a whole lot of it. So going back to my original point, SSG are going to be able to complete this top clear without much delay, getting them to the site very early and leaving them with quite a bit of time to set up their execute. Now, whether they'll be able to make that execute a success or not, that's yet to be seen. This is a very turtley setup from the Sonics.
Now, that is the real question, but the good news is that SSG has made pretty damn good time so far. I mean, 1:30 right now, really good on the drone economy, still have plenty of utility to handle everything on site, and they're going to begin their site work already on time. So SSG, once again, making some good work here and already getting rid of a lot of utility inside of planes. This is obviously going to be a vault plant here, but they have a lot to worry about. They still have to worry about the player possibly downstairs inside a piano or anyone rotating into 90. SSG has a lot of map control to worry about, especially inside of this 5v5.
Players just spamming through the cameras real quick to see if there's any surprises waiting for them in the SSG camp. Not to be the case for the most part, though. This is a pretty straightforward push from SSG because they got the map controls so early on. They're really going to start to press it, giving them even 90 control now as we start to see them wrapping around for that. But deeper in the site, those anchors here really yet to be tested as of yet. Easily Super have just been waiting for the opportunity to strike out. Same can be said for guys like Iconic and Sleben, who are back over by main stairs. The area of the map that's been left pretty much untested by SSG throughout this entire round, which is a very rare thing to see. SSG getting themselves ready to go now. First smokes coming in. We've got some spam coming out from Easily, but Super's going to be able to shut down Rampy, who will be the first to go down on entry. Super will also take one down with a Nitro Cell against Canadian, but Fultz does get one trade, eliminating Iconic closer towards main stairs. Sleben will now be able to pick up the double as the 2-man push up main stairs is completely shut down. And Sleben will also be able to take out Thinking Nade to end out the round completely there. Beautiful work by the Sonics on the hold. And unfortunately, just not enough map control for SSG to be able to make that take work out for them.
Very well done from Sleben there to shut down the retake by SSG. They were biting really, really hard for study control, but Sleben thwarting every single plan that they had. SSG really wanted to go for the vault plant there, and they adapted accordingly to do so. They eventually got the vault handled with some ace utility inside of 90, but the main problem is not only did they not have a pick but they really didn't bait any of the nitro cells from the defense or any of that lethal utility that they had. So right when the smoke goes off from Canadian, the Sonics just utility dump the door and kill almost everybody. We had a nitro cell kill. We also had a really nice pickup from the Goyo as well, just simply with the Vector. There was a lot of things going on that were really, really strong there for the Sonics, and especially with such a fast clear by SSG, this is really telling of how dominant the Sonics can be here on Villa.
SSG, maybe with a little bit of false confidence in their own capability to force themselves past the setup from the Sonics there. We especially didn't see really much pressure at all coming towards main stairs or study side until that last 30 or 40 seconds. They realized their mistake, SSG did, that is, and tried to apply that additional pressure, but unfortunately it was too little too late. You know, plenty of utility still to deal with there, and not enough attacker utility or even time to deal with that. Had to force themselves into a situation where Slebin was able to shut things down nice and easily with, I believe, 3 quick kills at the end of the round. It's going to be the first successful hold from the Sonics, and now they move over to kind of the next expected site in the chain here as they're going to go over towards Trophy.
I will say this, Slebin played that in such an elegant way over there on the study side. I mean, really, really worried about the crossfire from the study window, able to take down both players on the top of main stairs while still being worried about the Dokkaebi. So his positioning there was just really, really strong, recognizing all of those angles. So just tip of the cap towards Slebin in that play because, again, early in the morning, you know, first round of the day, and you're able to pull something off like that. Very well done from him. Let's see if he can try and keep it up throughout the rest of the day. We really need to see this European talent continue to power through this gauntlet of a day. Once again, we have a possibility of one of these teams playing 11 maps today. 11 maps. Think about that for a second.
So we are going to see a little bit more committed to the downstairs clear this time from SSG, spending a bit more time on that since Astro Stairs, along with a couple other avenues through here, are incredibly important to the overall success of the attackers when going up against this site. You can see, of course, that there's the immediate counteractive pressure from the Sonics. Super will be hiding out on the inside of Astro, though apparently won't be able to stay there for very long. He's going to lose the Goyo shield that he had over by Astro main desk. It's also going to destroy quite a bit of the floor beneath him and leaves him to temporarily back away from that position, although just as we were panning away, it did look like he was looking to retake that position. Whether he'll stay inside of it and actively maintain it is will yet to be seen. And well, the answer to that's going to be a solid yes. He's not only maintaining it, he's getting aggressive upon it, despite the fact that the majority of SSG have evacuated from here. You've got one other player left in Mudroom, but that entire kitchen push is now gone, and it looks like they've all rotated upstairs.
I honestly respect this play here from Super. Oh, he might get caught off guard, though. Hammer out. Super dead. All right, gonna have to back that one off just a little bit. Super gets a touch too aggressive. Secondary grenade comes in. Downs Iconic as well. Can Fultz pick him up? Trying to play through the vertical play right now, but can't seemingly find him. Sees one push through. Can he hear them healing? He can. He takes down Iconic as well. This play from Fultz right now, absolute dynamite, taken down 2, all based off that utility. Slebin now worried about him. Drops right through, but he gets fried as well. What are you jumping for, boys? Stay inside of sight. It's down to Easily and Gompy for the Sonics, getting a little bit too ahead of themselves, but now worried about the players inside of Astronomy. Easily under fire now with concussions pouring in. He can't even see straight. Rampy takes him down. Is it going to be a flawless round, folks? How's round 2 going? It's going pretty damn well for SSG. Canadian gets traded out. Fultz takes him down, and SSG walks away with their first very aggressive round.
Not flawless, as Gomphy does manage to get that one little trade in at the very end of it, but it matters not, as the overall theme of the round is still domination from SSG, and most notably Fultz's play from below in kitchen. Some beautiful work there to take down multiple players and as well counter out the other players trying to jump down there. We saw Slebin hop down, and that was Bosco that came in for the assist. Slebin, I think, just not expecting a second player to be there at that point in time, and as a result of that, another loss is taken over in the Sonics camp, bringing them down into a 2 versus 5 before the execute had even begun, meaning that it's pretty much an easy walk down the street for SSG at that point to get their own first round on the board. Swift revenge, to say the least, after a disappointing first round from them, and now they tie it up at 1-1.
I'm really liking the Sonics playstyle right now. Even after that last round, I still think that it's worth noting. So let's talk about that real quick. They're not giving SSG map control for free on any front, and I respect the hell out of that. The only problem that they really had there was the fact that they kind of overplayed their hand, especially with Super transitioning all the way downstairs to the other staircase there. I don't really know what to call it right now for you guys, but the staircase next to China. Anyways, So, Super moving down there and getting picked off wasn't the best play, but the thing that really exemplified the issue was the fact that the Soniqs really want to try and keep that man advantage, or the man count equal amongst the teams. So they, trickle people in to try and trade things out, whether it be, jumping down into the red hallway or what have you. But obviously, they just trickle kills into SSG, which just makes the man count even more into the favor of SSG. If they just back it off just a hair, honestly, if Super just stayed on astronomy stairs there, I honestly think they had a real chance inside of that round. It was just a little bit of an overplay. That was it.
We'll see if they can correct that on the reattempt that's being made right now. We do see a pulse coming into the picture for Iconic this time as well, hopefully providing a little bit more intel, especially if things are going to be happening for SSG on another floor. It'll make it a lot easier for Iconic to spot that out and hopefully punish it with now 3 nitro cells that have been brought for the defenders here. But at the moment, that strategy is not going to line up so well, as it's a very quick top clear coming in from SSG, and it's happening from the south side of the map, clearing out over towards aviation and games, and doing so just like the first round, with relative speed here, not leaving a lot of room for Soniqs to try to capitalize on this, but there could be room that pops up later if the first 4 players are left undisturbed and they're allowed to wrap all the way around to places like red stairs and the main stairs to begin working for a flank. Either way, though, 3 members of SSG, led by Rampy, have already reached the connectors into sight, so they're ready once again to begin their site take. They got to the same point back in round number 1, though it didn't work out for them, so it's only really the beginning here for SSG.
Yeah, SSG also adopting the Jackal into the lineup, and this is something that we actually see them do quite often. This is one of their most played compositions, is putting this Jackal in and trying to get some intel to pressure these roamers back to site. SSG really likes those site executes, but they're not scared to take gunfights if they have good intel. So Bosco on this Jackal is going to be a huge linchpin in these plans. Canadian almost losing his life there, stepping in front of the barrel of the gun of Fultz. Not the best thing in the world, but not going to deal any damage anyways. Ace charge now down, as it seems like SSG want to prioritize bathroom, but Fultz, grenade in hand, gets caught off guard by Slebin.
Aggressive stature put up by Slebin. It's worked out from him previous rounds, and it's going to work out here yet again. Smart to fall back after the fact too, as it would leave him in a very exposed position, able to be taken down by angles like this from Canadian if he had stayed there. So quick movements puts him into the back of Astro and in relative safety yet again. That's that man advantage that Stokes was talking about before. They've got it now, so they don't really need to press the advantage any further. Any ground that they have for themselves, they can maintain it and just look to punish SSG every step they try to take forward against the Soniqs defense. And you can see it's working. SSG is trying really hard to figure out what the best path forward is going to be from this point in the round, but it's not really an easy decision. Having lost Fultz here, they now don't have an even initiation anymore. They're taking a risk on going down to a 3v5 right from the very beginning. So they are going to try to open up the wall here, go for a smoke plan as well, and for the time being it's working, but no, Canadian is going to get caught out. It's not just him either. Thinking nade falls. There'll be one trade from Bosco onto Iconic, but it's not too much longer before the trades start rolling back in a Sonic's favor as well. Everything falls to Bosco now in the 1v4, and he's going to get quickly dispatched by Slebin to give Soniqs their 2nd round overall on the map.
And this is going to be what we talk about for the rest of this series, folks. This is going to be the main problem for SSG. The Soniqs want to continue to fight. Even when they're down or up, it doesn't really matter. They want to continue to fight and pressure their advantage, especially in the situation that we just saw. You guys saw that SSG really wants to lean on those executes and try and get that objective play going on, but the Soniqs are going to deny it on every front, even to the point of, Slebin stepping into the smoke, being the best smoke criminal he can possibly be, searching for that shot. He hears the impact of the bullets on the SSG member, able to take down the guy with the case, and then, inadvertently able to win the round because of that. The Soniqs just all, coming around their single player, pushing up into Master and taking every single gunfight possible and winning it on all fronts. SSG just not being ready for that bomb to go down in that manner, and the Soniqs just being more aggressive inside of those gunfights. I'm really liking what we're seeing from this defensive side.
And we're heading back to AVG yet again. It's been unlocked for play by the Soniqs. We also are going to see a Maverick come into the play for SSG, and I'm very curious to see how this Maverick will work out. Most notably because we have that additional hard breach potential coming into the picture. 90 was left relatively undefended last time in here. Here's the answer to my question. They are going to bring a Cade in on the Soniqs. They realize since 90 was left undefended, more than likely that's going to be a route SSG may be looking to take, and that may explain part of the reason, at least, why the Maverick is coming into the fold for this round, and would also obviously explain why Easily has now brought the Cade, as they do need a way to counter that out. So that can be some interesting play. We might see a little bit of a contention over that. And also, more important to note, is that they have fully reinforced the quad wall setup here that leads from study into the two sites.
Yeah, I really like the Maverick pickup as well, and I think that obviously since Maverick has frag grenades, he's even more potent inside of this lineup. You have Fultz with frag grenades as well as Rampy with those 2 breaching rounds, so they're going to be able to get rid of a lot of this utility from the Sonics, and I think that that's one of the main reasons that they had some problems the last time is, I mean, just simply look at what we have on the lineup for the Sonics right now. We have, you know, 2 shields as well as, you know, bubbles that you have to get rid of with explosives and ADSs. There's a lot of things going on for the Sonics, and SSG are trying to account for that, as well as the hard breach like you were talking about for that single panel.
So let's see if indeed that's going to be one of the objectives that SSG will look to get. They didn't really try to toy with it last time despite having that control, and it could have been another angle they would have been able to try and use to get better access to the site. But similarly to the last round, we're seeing a lot of early control go to SSG over here on the north side of the map by Master side here, and they're going to, just like round number 1, immediately transition it up to the site. Rampy's already dumping his flashes in. No ADSs or anything else to eat that up, so they will also send in one of their breaching charges from the Ash. That'll deal with the first Goyo shield, blocking out access over towards the gun vault. They do try to throw a second one in to deal with utility. Didn't catch what was there, but it is going to go off as well.
This is a really strong start. Rampy got so much bang for his buck there, getting rid of an Evil Eye, a Goyo shield, as well as the other Evil Eye. So no more vision for Iconic. He's just another man with a gun. Sonic's going to have to deal with that and more than likely use audio cues to know when someone's planning on the vault door. SSG with a good head of steam coming in here, but they still have to worry about the 90 pressure as well as bookshelf. The Sonics have been allowed to exist inside of study as well, so SSG needs to rotate some players to the opposite side of the map and start dealing with that before this execute goes down. We can already see a handful of members not on this side of the map. Canadian droning out, you know, the study side. So, but actually a very nice pickup here from Super that takes down the Maverick, and he gets another one. Bosco not paying attention or looking left, and Super gets 2 kills for free.
And there goes any attempt that was going to be made to open up the rest of that wall, as well as now the Mavericks down for the count. Canadians been able to sneak into studies. They at least have a small amount of crossfire to play off of here on top of their smokes. Plant attempt can absolutely be made here. Whether it's going to be successful or not, that's the much more difficult part of this one, but it's working out for SSG. The plant's going down. Canadian sneaks off the kill on the Super from the inside of Gun Vault. Smoke's just going to be reapplied here as it's coming to the end of its timer, but they'll take down another player before that smoke even replumes. Iconic's on the ground. Thankfully, Gomphy's right next to him, so they'll be able to resurrect him relatively quickly, keeping their chances in this fight alive, but possibly not for too much longer, as Thinking Nade gets the double to seal the deal for SSG as they steal round number 4 right out of the hands of the Sonics.
And that right there is the sign of a good IGL. We see Canadian ping the ground for the plant, immediately drops the smoke in, knowing the ADSs are burned, makes that smoke plume, and then re-smokes it to keep the angle cut off, making it very difficult for the Sonics to retake. They have to try and flood into study, and especially when you have Thinking Nade of all people on an angle, even in the current meta, folks, where it's swing or be swung, that's still not the other person that you want on that side of the gun, especially with ARX in his hand. You see how it goes. It's 2-2 right now. SSG, some great late round adjustments to make that one work.
It's definitely getting a little bit worried when things went awry trying to work their way past the gun vault reinforcement, but like you said, the great adjustment as well as the kind of all of a sudden study control that they were able to get. It was a bit risky, as if I remember correctly, Canadian had to hop past at least one player that was still holding main stairs in order to get that control, but it worked out. The gamble paid off as it gave them that second angle they so desperately needed to push over and get map table control. And then, of course, the overall lack of any sort of ADSs in that area made it very easy to get the smokes onto the ground in the first place and start the plant. Great utilization of their utility by SSG, and a great way to turn around a round that wasn't looking so great up until that point.
I'll definitely say this, throughout these 4 rounds so far, the respect for the Sonics is just skyrocketed. And it wasn't like it was necessarily down on the dumps before, but I mean, the adjustments right now, as well as the gunfights they're taking, their willingness to not give up SSG or not give up map control to SSG, there's a lot of really strong things here for the Sonics. And the more and more that we see them play, the more and more I feel like we are going to be seeing Coastline later on today.
They're going to see Easily try to hide one of his electric claws down below here. Makes it a bit more difficult to deal with it through conventional means, like chucking a frag grenade through, or even using things like Zofia charges that you would most often see to try to deal with those electric claws. Going to be a little bit more work, but more than likely, SSG will be able to do a little bit of investigating. Terrible way to phrase that. And figure out where that is if they have the time to do that. And that's oftentimes the biggest thing with these more trickier electric claws, that you need the time to find them more than anything else.
Yeah, that was the main problem that that SSG actually had the last time as well. They wanted to try and get that wall open, but right when they looked into getting the wall open, they realized the Electroclaw was downstairs and they didn't have time to adjust. So, you know, putting that Electroclaw downstairs in the first place is a good idea because of the amount of explosives you're going to have going off inside of planes. You know, simply because this is no man's land, folks. You don't want to be inside of this room unless you're trying to contest an angle from behind the couch. If you're there for anything more than that, you're probably going to die to some explosives. So just better to put that Electroclaw downstairs where it doesn't get frag grenaded immediately. But we're already halfway through this round. SSG hitting the mark once again. They're already at the door and now working on that burn. Let's see if Rampy can make good on these breaching rounds once again. He gets rid of the Goyo shield. We don't know exactly what's come of these Evil Eyes just yet. We'll have to account for those and see if they were adjusted anywhere else.
Yeah, the timeline overall, though, is moving in a very similar fashion to what we had happen back on round number 4 here as well. So kind of on pace for what we've seen already, but there's also going to be a quick effort to try and open things up. Looks like they were able to deal with the electric wall relatively quickly. That thing is gone now, so the wall is going to be opened up. Better angle for the study players to be able to use to fire back against the defenses, but at the same time, that is also a window for the defenders to use here too. So SSG will still need to be a little bit careful about how they proceed from this point forward now that they have opened that wall up. 38 seconds remaining here, so time is going to start to pressure the SSG roster quite a bit. They have their avenue to throw smoke in now and go for the plant, but similarly to before, they haven't really stressed out the nitros. Still 3 of them ready to be tossed here from the Soniqs if they try to go for a plant, which is looking like what we have happening right now. However, it's going to work out. One of the nitro players just gets taken down entirely. Canadian's going to be able to finish off not him, but another one as well. Easily still down on the ground here as well. Looks like he'll get revived by Gomfy. And now a lot of the pressure goes to Slevin, who's trying to make the flank work, but no, he'll be cut off by Thinking Nade, taking him out of the picture, still leaving the SSG roster at 5 men strong, and leaving only Comfy and Easily, and I can't even finish the sentence. They are gone as well. Easily will get 1 trade before the round is over there, but it won't matter much as SSG yet again takes solid control of AVG and take another round with it.
This is looking really, really scary for the Soniqs right now. I know that obviously, you know, Jesse and I were both kind of skeptical of SSG taking the Soniqs here, but I can tell you right now, Jesse, SSG's looking damn good, and it's really all on the shoulders of Canadian inside of these adjustments. I mean, that's 2 times in a row where simply adjusting where the plant is going down has won them rounds. Playing these crossfires in a really strong way, and that just shows you how potent Ace can be. Not only did he get rid of all of Iconic's impacts by simply just using his own utility, but he also held the crossfire and got multiple kills while also, you know, maestroing where the plant went down. There was a lot of things there that Canadian had to juggle, and he did it all so well and got multiple kills in the process. This is some amazing offense right now by SSG, and that's exactly why the Soniqs are going to give up AVG and head down towards Kitchen. They don't want to give them that chance once again.
Not even done in the same fashion either. A little bit more work able to be opened up there. Much earlier study control going over to the SSG roster. Soniqs not putting up as much of a defensive effort to stop the attackers from getting control of that room. And that, of course, led to the obvious problems and allowing Canadian and some of the other members from SSG to set up so proficiently for the execute, which this time went even cleaner than it did in the previous round, in my opinion. Now, we're going to see a little...
Completely agree.
Yeah, we're going to see a little bit of a different player this time from the Soniqs, as they're actually going to head downstairs for their final defense here. And it's going to be quite the extended roam. There's definitely going to be some problems for SSG as they try to clear out areas like living room. You can see the Banshees being deployed here. And it doesn't just stop there. You've even got bandit batteries going down into living room to really buff this extended roam and give them a lot more security to play here, hopefully delaying time at the minimum, and in a best case scenario, maybe picking up a few kills as well. But the focus for SSG to start off is going to be over here on top of Master. If they get this without contention, which it looks like they're going to get just within the next few seconds here, they'll be able to spend plenty of time using their sledge to set up all the top-down angles over the site.
Well, this is going to be a possible nice retake here for the Soniqs playing inside of Living Room. The only major problem they could have is that if SSG gets control of the pantry single and is able to get that open, it's going to be really hard to try and flood in through kitchen. They'll have to go tarps instead, which might be SSG's plan. They have a lot of soft destruction here, as well as Bosco back on that Jackal. So they have the intel as well as the soft destruction to handle a lot of this vertical play. They're going to stick on this for the most part. They shouldn't try and clear Living Room, mainly because it'll just expend way too much of their utility. So we should see them keep this top control and then transition this into their execute. This is going to be up to the Soniqs to try and make good on this roam or try and force their way back to site. Either way is really going to be based off of those early picks, but that's exactly what we expect from the Soniqs team.
So easily to get spotted by a drone about 20 seconds ago. He's since been able to reposition, just kind of outrun the drone more than anything there. Get himself back into a different spot over here by map table, making it look like he was falling back, but still definitely maintaining this position. And he probably won't be alone here either. He's actually rotating back to where he was before, closer towards 90. There is going to be a preset drone there, so it could be a problem later on if he tries to get too aggressive. But it also looked like they had their bandit sneaking up through red stairs too, so definitely going to see a little bit more active play. And yep, here he is right now. Comfy stepping up to the plate over here, trying to see if he can sneak up. Like I said, they do have a preset drone sitting in the corner nearby, so they might have the info that these two are trying to make a play already. And I would say that's the case, because we've got at least two players from SSG looking right over here towards the connectors right now, very much ready to take these fights. And there we go. Rampy shuts down. Gomfy takes him out. Easily still nearby, though, so let's see if they're ready for him. And it does look like they are. However, not ready for the gunfight. Easily still able to win it out versus Fultz in the initial engagement. And now he'll fall back, having evened out the man count.
Well, the real question is what's going on site. Bosco is actually adjusted all the way down to pantry here after those initial engagements upstairs. We're still going to have Easily on the roam, as well as Iconic currently working his way up the astronomy staircase. He could actually get taken down from this hatch, but I don't even know if anyone knows that he's here. He turns the backpack on, peeks, and gets fried by Rampy. That's going to be a double for him on the round. But with only 20 seconds remain, SSG need a plant, and they need it now. Ace Utility going off of the single panel. Now they have the cutoff. They can go for the plant, but they have to worry about these nitro cells. They bait out one, goes off, but does some damage over towards Canadian. Doesn't mean that they can't get these kills, though. Thinking Canadian light up the scoreboard. Slubbin waiting until the very last moment to break through this smoke so he can do it on timer, and he does, but Thinking Nade very quick to the trigger and takes him down. That's why he's the best flank watch in the world. SSG keeping things on lock in this offense.
With less than a second to trade that, the job is done as well. Nicely played there by Thinking Nade. Good play from Canadian as well throughout the entirety of this half. It implies the Thinking Nade here have been doing a really good job of picking up the kills when they're needed most there, and just absolutely culling any attempts from Soniqs to try and retake these sites. Beautiful work by that combo there. They have definitely been earning their pay today.
Absolutely. And honestly, I feel like you can chalk this up partially to the Ying ban coming in, mainly because we don't have another hard destructor banned right now. This is going to leave Ace open for these teams, which you should be seeing mostly. Yet we're going to have Easily on it once again. The Soniqs also bringing Lion, which is a rudimentary thing for them. So they have a long road ahead of them trying to battle through this defense, especially with SSG ahead right now, walking into the arguably better half here on Villa. And obviously it's, percentage-wise going to lean towards them. We'll have to see how the Soniqs act on this offense. The thing that's standing out to me the most right now is that Iconic is definitely silent. Like, it doesn't even seem like he's in the room right now. And that's the main problem for the Soniqs right now. We need to see Iconic come back to form like what we saw yesterday, have one of these highlight reel games, because right now the Soniqs are desperate for him to come back.
Iconic so far yet to find a frag in this matchup here, and as we talk a little bit about his performance in the previous half, had a lot of trouble, it looked like, putting himself in positions to actually being able to frag out there. Very rarely did we see him even kind of getting prepared to strike out against any of the members of SSG while they were setting up their attacks, which is unfortunate as it translates pretty well into the overall scoreboard there, where we can see that impact is yet to be found. So hopefully some chances will be found for him on the attacking side here, as the halves have now flipped and we're looking at SSG on their own first aviation defense that they're going to be going for. Pretty similar flare, as we can see there's going to be quite a bit of Goyo action coming up to the plate here, just like we saw from the Soniqs. It's all being set up now, and just like we saw from SSG, the Soniqs are going to start their take out with a nice quick clear of the master side.
Oh, you cheeky man, Lycan. I see you looking like Bill Belichick out here. So they're going to put that Goyo shield down on the vault door here. And that is a throwback to Bank, where you used to put the Goyo shield through the single panel wall for the CCTV execute, because you have to hop the shield to blow it up. Unless you use some form of explosive, you can no longer plant there, because if you hop over and a nitro cell goes off, you get burned alive. So this is a really nice setup here from SSG to contest the benches / top red area, and they're going to mix that with Fultz playing on red with some barbed wire down low. This is something that I haven't seen pulled off in this section of the map just yet, so this is going to be fresh from SSG coming out here on Villa.
No drones going over there just as of yet either, so Soniqs more than likely aren't really aware that this is happening, and probably won't be aware until they get a little bit closer to the site here. That's assuming, of course, they even need to get into the site, as things will start out well in the frag department. Iconic's going to be able to line up a very nice shot against Fultz, who tries to get a bit aggressive by moving down those red stairs and will ultimately get cut off completely, giving the Soniqs some great control. And I'm right up against Connector here, and they're not going to stop there. Got more drones working their way over towards areas of the map like 90. They'll also need to clear out those parts over the next couple seconds before they have full confidence in their own take here.
I was going to say, that's going to be the major problem for them right now. Look at the time. The timing's completely different for the Soniqs. Granted, they are working on both sides of the map, so this still definitely could work out for them, as they are worried about that steady control early on. Now, for SSG, it's mostly leaning on that timer, but they see that they have another Goyo shield. That's going to get destroyed very quickly with that breaching round, but that's going to be all of Gomfi's utility, including his drone, now gone. And the drone economy for the Soniqs, not strong in the slightest.
Nice Evil Eye there, sniping out one of the Selmas. I believe he does get both charges on it, so no actual destruction will be made. Evil Eye will be lost after the fact, however, and now Smoke Charge is starting to move in. Super has no time to deal with this. He just tries to roll right in, and unfortunately is not prepared for Thinking Nate sitting on the inside of the gun vault. Maybe thought he would have had team support, or didn't think there was going to be a player in there. Either way, it costs him his life as the first player from the Soniqs goes down. Gomfi will start to trade this back, but Thinking Nate still a problem from the inside of Gun Vault. He'll finally take some fire to send him into a down state, but there's only 4 seconds remaining to go for this plant. Now Bosco's still alive, deeper in the site, but not for long, as easily completes the flank through the bar, unlocks Bosco's position, taking him out, and also giving the Soniqs their initial attacking round.
Yeah, this Ying ban is making things really, really easy for the offense when it comes to clearing a lot of this utility. You can see both of these teams have really dedicated a lot of utility into planes, and every single time it is a huge problem for the defense trying to keep that locked down. I really thought that was going to fall into SSG's lap, because I'm assuming that Super thought that his smoke was going to be a touch deeper into sight, and that's why he could go for that plant, but that was definitely not the case. Walked right into the crossfire that Thinking Nate was holding for study, and they end up getting case control because of that. But the Soniqs, being good to their word like they usually are, really strong inside of those gunfights, able to bring it all the way back, even though case control was in SSG's hands. SSG, knowing that they had their best chance at winning AVG right there, head immediately over to Trophy and Stat. You can't blame them for that one at all.
It's a little bit of a change up here from the Soniqs, and we'll see what kind of a lineup they are going to work towards. Coming so close there, SSG does, despite the man disadvantage they were working with due to their roam game getting picked off relatively early on in the round. Sonic still took quite a while to line up their execute, and upon first attempting to make it work for themselves, lost their case pretty quickly, but still able to make things turn around with adequate bar pressure. Some great work there by the Soniqs. Piece things back together has often been the case for some of these attacking rounds that we've had here on Villa to start out the series. As far as SSG's hold is concerned, nothing crazy coming out from them here. Overall, on their trophy defense, they're going to bring quite a bit of the usual flair towards it here, including the Malusian Goyo shield setups to try and slow down the Soniqs as much as possible and waste their utility in the process by having to delete those.
Yeah, this is a very, very straightforward trophy stat defense. You know, you have the Goyo shield set up, as well as some impacts on Thinking Nate with the shield there to prevent anyone from swinging benches and killing him so that he can play for the triple wall. There's a lot of strong things here for SSG, but it's mostly meta things that we're used to seeing. The only real adaptation that SSG has here is that aggressive Goyo shield being placed inside of Master. So SSG right now, just mostly going to be going for a horizontal hold, all except for Canadian now rotating downstairs to play with that Nitro Cell, and I'm going to assume that's what that Goyo shield is there for. He just wants to make sure that this thing isn't just a bomb, it's a nuclear device.
More of an incendiary device, but I get your point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same, but different, right?
I suppose. Well, we've got the Sonics going through a very similar clear here, already making their way through Study into the map room, and they'll deal with the first of the Goyo shields blocking off the connector leading into Statuary. A couple more members of the Sonics also toying around with an entry into Master, though they haven't actually pulled the trigger on that just yet. We've got Iconic and Easily in the area trying to do some drone work, but we are going to see the second Goyo shield, that aggressive one on the inside of Master. That'll get blown up pretty early on here too. Thinking will get spotted out by a drone that'll force him further back to the inside of Astro. Not really any major pressure coming up on any of the members of SSG, but it is still giving the Sonics more and more map control as the time continues to go down. Quite a bit of a reinforcement commitment to the inside of the walk-in closet there, so we are going to see one of the Selmas used to get that open and just give the Sonics better capability to play into it. Easily trying to snipe out these players from down below, and he nearly gets one of them, but the aim's just not where it needs to be, unfortunately. Those two players pass each other by, still with no damage done to either player.
On the Sonics, with a good head of steam coming into the last minute here, but still a lot of utility to worry about. Easily with a big pickup on the Bosco, and he's going to continue to push his advantage. Worried about Astronomy, but now the Mitro's been down. Iconic makes quick work of him. Canadian fires back with a Nitro cell, but they have site pressure now, just looking for this plant. A lot of SSG members off-site. Canadian actually the only one close to it, as he's at the top of Astronomy stairs. Rampy can still utilize this Nitro cell to try and stop this plant, but I don't even think that they know where the plant's going down. Super confirms it. He still has one more EE1D. Easily takes down Fultz, and this is looking like a Sonics round all over the board. Rampy trying to battle his way up red, but he's quickly taken down by Slebin. They have full control of the site. Canadians locked down inside of Master. He's worried about the benches player. Gets one, peeks through with the Vector, not able to get the second one. Slams that magazine. Still has multiple angles to worry about here. 20 seconds remain on the clock, but it's easily to put a nail inside of that coffin. Round 8 goes to the Sonics.
Yeah, absolutely zero play options there for Canadian in the endgame state. He had the Banshee sitting directly outside of the bedroom door, couldn't take a swing, and even if he tried to, the Banshee would have immediately stopped him and presented him to about 3 to 4 different players' angles on the side of the Sonics. Great stuff from the Sonics once again as they get a solid take going, and it all starts out with a bit of a haphazard push at the very same door the Canadian died in at the end of the round. They're able to move in, take down the Jaeger on defense, and follow that up with a quick kill onto Thinking Nate as well, as either the info wasn't processed that quickly to the SSG comms, or Thinking Nate wasn't able to reposition himself quickly enough. He gets sideswiped and then taken down by another player, and from that point forward, the dominoes continue to fall to pieces as the Sonics had the map control they needed to start their execute and, more importantly, get the case down on the ground.
I honestly respect the Sonics playstyle so much right now and what they're bringing to the table. We've been talking about this throughout the day and their very aggressive style and how they really want to combat that man count. But when it comes down to it, the Sonics are just so damn good at playing off of each other. Instead of that last round right there, the main entry wasn't really any of the entry players. It was Easily walking in through concrete. Takes down the Jaeger on the bomb chassis, also gets some good damage off on the Maestro inside of Astronomy, and they completely take the site control off of Easily's efforts. So this is an entire team effort walking into this, and then on top of that, you have these EE1Ds that are locking down the roamers, as well as those site players while you're getting in these very hotly contested gunfights. So there's a lot going on for these SSG members when it comes down to these executes, especially with how quickly the map control is getting taken by the Sonics. You can't exactly, combat that when it's happening that quickly. It's happening in about 5 to 10 seconds. They all of a sudden have site control. These plants are going down, and SSG has no one home to try and stop it.
The roam game is easily the biggest black mark on the SSG report card right now here, as they are really struggling to find that impact in the early round, and even away from that, really struggling to deny any sort of map control away from the Sonics as they try to take it early on. Same thing is going to be showcased here over the next minute or so. They're moving in, already taking out one of the Goyo shields on the main stairs. Soon they're going to be pressing in and try to take out players like Fultz, who are sitting here. And the record for Sonics winning those engagements for the first 2 rounds of their attack has been pretty good. And look at that. Once again, opening kill goes their way. Slebin takes out Rampy instantly. Slebin as well readjusts his aim. Almost thought he was going to go down there, but no, he's able to correct and take down Fultz. So my point there about the roam game really speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And again, the point that we were talking about before with the Sonics, look at how they all flooded the top of main stairs. They are playing off of these comms so damn well. And if we continue to see this, I don't know if SSG has a chance, and it's a long day, folks. So first second, EE1D goes off for Super. The damage has already been done to SSG. Soniqs, this is your round to lose now at this point. If SSG is able to claw their way back in, something has really went wrong here.
Thinking Nade at least able to take out some of the drone economy. Still has the utility hiding deeper on the inside of Study, so able to eliminate one drone with that. A very small gesture at this point in the round, given that we're already down to a 5v3. Sutherland will take out that Evil Eye, prevent any additional drones from being eliminated, as well as their, more importantly, hard breach utility if they're going to be using it here over the next couple seconds, which, there we go, first Selma going out. However, it's within impactable range, so Thinking Nade's going to be able to stop that before the explosion begins. Down to the last minute here, the Sonics start to slow down, but just as I say that, easily finds another pick, eliminates Canadian. Thinking, desperately looking for an angle to start trading these kills back, and he'll succeed in that. Doubly so as he takes out Gomfi. How far can he go, though? That's the question. Still 3 players remain on the Sonics. They know generally where he's at. It's just about locking him down, or do they know where he's at? He's able to get a third one at least, but finally Iconic has the position and the angle, more importantly, to trade out onto Thinking Nade and finally secure that round for themselves.
And that's the big problem, John. We see these site players keep popping off for SSG, but where is that roam game? We saw that early engagement on, main stairs. They weren't exactly ready for the flood from the Sonics, but that's what the Sonics are planning for the whole entire time. Pop the EE1D, flood the main staircase, use Sleben's utility to battle up that and make it a very hard to contest gunfight for these SSG members. They're already going to be adjusting sites once again. They haven't picked up a single defensive round just yet. We're headed down to Kitchen, and we're actually going to have a 6-pick that I didn't think that we were going to have here. We're going to have the Jaeger actually getting 6-picked away. We're going to be picking up the Pulse. Kind of strange here, simply because the Sonics have made really, really good work on site with their throwable utility. We've been seeing a lot of smokes go down, and that's been one of the main reasons that they've gotten a lot of site control. Utilizing those smokes along with those EE1Ds and playing those crossfires super, super well to guarantee those plants going down. So we'll see if it works out for SSG, but removing the Jaeger, we'll have to see.
Yeah, if there's ever a round where we're going to see impact made by the roamers here on SSG, it would be this round, as they've really doubled down on that respect here, given the operator pool they brought to the table. You've got, of course, the Vigil, you've got the Malus, you've got the Mute, which can have its own roaming capabilities if they want to use it. You've got Canadian as well on the Pulse, which is going to have to play around in basement or on some other parts of the map in the first floor, just by the nature of the operators. So hopefully we'll start to see that impact come in a little bit more here on this round. As if we don't see it here, I don't know if we're going to see it at all, and they need to try and find some way to bring their anchors, who have been doing most of the heavy lifting here on the defense, into the fray.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Villa as well, is it's a really roam-centric map. If your roam game is strong on Villa, you're probably going to be one of the best Villa teams you know. And SSG haven't been able to hit a single mark, a single one on this roam game just yet. And, Rampy, doing some good VOD review, knows exactly where Super's going to be lining up outside that double door. This is a rudimentary take here from the Sonics. Super always lines up on this door, and then they pressure study control and then clear that way. So Rampy, recognizing what the take's going to be, backs off, reports that back to the rest of his teammates, and now they know exactly what the Sonics' next move is going to be. Obviously, that can change inside of the mid game, but for right now, this seems to be the main game plan.
Super going to move himself upstairs here and start to take a little bit more study control away from our defenders. Levin will spot out a nice Goyo shield, which can be easily eliminated just over by the master door. Gives the away team over by that part of the map a bit more ease of access for players like Iconic and Easily, who are kind of in the neighborhood if they are looking to take control there. Still a big roam presence from SSG that's been established on the inside of that room, and it will take some time to clear that out, but they're getting closer to the point where they'll be able to fight those players relatively soon. And in the meantime, SSG has actually fallen back quite a bit, with almost all of their roster now hiding in the site, waiting for the eventual execute to come in, despite the fact that, again, haven't been able to find much impact against the actual attacking game here from the Sonics, besides maybe wasting a little bit of time. And they haven't even wasted that much. There's still just under half the round remaining here, and the Sonics are starting to get closer and closer to their execute point.
Yeah, that's the main issue right now, but Gomfi's going to get down from a Nitro Cell. Canadian should be able to confirm that. The Nitro Cell not hitting him. That wooden like big 2x6 inside of the floor, probably blocking a lot of that. Rampy takes down Slevin though, so effectively a 3 versus 5 right now, unless they can get Gomfy back up. But I will say this is a really well planned fallback from SSG. The Soniqs had a really nice cutoff upstairs inside of the bathroom. There was really not going to be a safe way for them to try and transition back to site, so a good call from them early on. That's definitely worked out for them going into the later half of this round. Slevin taken down, Gomfy with low HP, and these are some of the highlight fraggers so far inside of this series. Easily with almost a really nice flick, but it's actually Fultz to strike as he takes down Iconic.
Easily trying to get some spray in through the soft barricade there as well. Super catching Rampy on the run in the meanwhile. We'll finally get the first kill for the Soniqs just within this round, but not leaning into a whole lot. Already we've seen it get traded out by Fultz. Easily and Super, the last two remaining here. Easily going to try to make the push in through Laundry, but there's a massive stack of players ready for him just on the other side here. Gets some damage on a Fultz to take him down, but on the fallback is immediately traded out, thinking they will also seal the deal on top of that trade by finishing off both Super and Easily and securing another round here for SSG on defense.
SSG getting bailed out by those nitro cells. That early rotation down, we talked about that. I really like that from SSG. Leaning on that nitro cell utility helped them out a lot, able to get not only a kill, effectively through that vertical play by seeing, Rampy take down the SSG, or excuse me, the Soniqs member, but as well as that nitro cell downing Gomfy and making things more difficult for them to put pressure onto site. Gomfy's low HP. He can't really take gunfights how he wants to. He just has to use that utility and try and hold those angles to support the rest of his team. SSG makes really good work with that, especially with that pulse play coming in, and they're going to be doing it again. We're 6 picking away from the Mozzie, picking up the pulse, and I'm really liking what we're seeing from this SSG squad right now, leaning on that intel game and trying to get in the Soniqs' face.
It's also the passive utility game that's worked out very well here for SSG. There's going to be a large part of the reason why we see so many more nitro cells being brought up to the plate for this round as well, with Rampy thinking they'd end Bosco trying to utilize that to once again do massive damage to the Soniqs attacking roster before they even see any of the members of SSG while they're doing that top-down clear. Now, this is again where the roam game is going to prove itself to be incredibly important because of the extended hold to the inside of the gun vault, which can have great angles of attack onto the usual area where we'll see the Soniqs try to move into the site, which would be through these two soft panels that our observer is looking at right now. They end up going there. The players in gun vault can have a really great angle, and anybody trying to push in through either of those doors. It is a bit of a double-edged sword, though, because it's the most commonly known thing that defenders do on this site. The attackers will also have a bit of an angle onto the defenders upstairs, and will look to take them out through that avenue. Or they'll spend some time just clearing it out entirely. They might go for aviation in games, but we've often seen teams really drain out the round timer trying to do that, so that isn't necessarily always the best choice. Once again, though, this is one of those things where it depends on the team that's actually doing the attacking about how they want to approach that situation specifically.
Some amazing spectator work there, guys. Can we get a cat jam in chat for our good friend Cyano? Cyano, thank you so much for that. Early engagements here, but a nice shot from Gomfy takes down Fultz, as that already dead deer has some extra bullets inside of it. The taxidermy will surely be contacted soon enough. So the Soniqs now have taxidermist. Anyways, top hold here for SSG, as they've dealt a decent amount of damage so far to the lineup, taking down Fultz, and a quick execute of this top floor here for the Soniqs, leaving Thinking Nate on an island. He only has one member in tow with him. It's going to be Canadian at the top of main stairs, but Slevin, already accounting for Thinking Nate, trying to get the hell out of Dodge, takes him down, and once again, we have Easily outside the double as Canadian tries to rotate back downstairs. He's been taken down. The Soniqs taking down every single SSG member across the board.
SSG going into full panic mode there on the fallback, leading quite a few players directly into their graves at the very end of it. Bosco nearly getting a nice little fadeaway kill on a drone right there, but I think he missed the shot. Another way, we're going to see players like Rampy having to desperately try to get back to the site, hopefully with their lives intact. That's been the hardest part of this fallback so far. Going to see part of the site defenses begin to crumble now too, as the Selma's going to open things up in the red carpet hallway. Easily will be the player to move in, and it shouldn't be too much further away from a plan at this point, as Easily will be able to sneak that off. Iconic will be lost due to some fragging from Bosco, though, and another one going to be swung out here from Bosco as well. He'll be able to take down Slevin. Rampy found the kill on a Super, and Bosco on the ground with the shot. He turns that round on its back. I don't know if anybody expected that. SSG absolutely stealing this one away from the Soniqs.
Oh, that is a heartbreaker for the Sonics. 5 versus 2, but when Boss Goat is still alive, anything is possible. SSG bringing it back from the depths right there, able to win a round that I assumed was well gone. Yes, exactly. So SSG now jump into the lead for the first time in quite some time. The Sonics taking the lead inside of round 9, but finally battling back as SSG as we're headed back to AVG. And this is going to be the big problem here. AVG is the site that has given them the most trouble. The Sonics already winning 2 rounds on this offense. Bosco going to be 6 picking away from the mute onto his most prolific operator. Smoke coming in.
Some success from SSG was nearly found on the last attempt. Came very close at a minimum, but again, it was the failings of their roam game that ultimately led to them not being able to hold on at the end of the round. So we will have to see if SSG will be able to improve that aspect of their gameplay, which even looking back at that last round, while we did see some better lights coming out from some better roam games being put out on the 2 downstairs sites, it's still by far the biggest issue of their game looking back at the last round once again, and these 2 upstairs site defenses have been no stranger to that problem as well here. Usual stair setup being completed here once again by SSG. We're going to see the Goyo shield placed on the stairs there.
So troll, man.
What, just putting one in the back there? Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to drain the utility, right? And that's you have to drain that. So
you got to drain it or you're gonna die. That's not going to be a good time for you either way. And I mean, hey, shout out to SSG and what they're able to come up with those Goyo shields, because that's a way to utilize those in a way that we haven't seen in a long time.
I feel like there is a world where you can ignore that one though if you get picks early enough onto these stairs players.
The only problem that you could really have is if Rampy's allowed to back up into Bookshelf and get a Nitro so down to where Fultz is, then you're probably going to have 2 members maybe die from the Sonics. You could have some major problems, but you know, when you have Gomfy and he's really smart with his utility and how he applies those breaching rounds, that's what's going to happen every single time. He uses that splash damage to get rid of the Goyo shield. Don't know if he necessarily got rid of the barbed wire, but he got rid of a possibility of losing 2 members really, really early on if what we were talking about happened.
I can't tell if that barb's intact or not. It looks like it's still there, so they may still have to deal with that. There's also still the additional ADS, which is alive a little bit further up the stairs as well. Fultz is still going to be waiting. Smokes are in the way right now, but he's still sticking nearby. And he's not the only one doing so. His teammate in the neighborhood as well. Gomfy hears the movement by the steps, also fires back a little bit, but that gives him away and allows for a swing. Fultz will seal the deal, taking him out. Rampy will also take one down with a Nitro Cell. So now both Slebin and Gomfy, both the European players for the Sonics, are gone. Easily, though, is going to walk right up to the studied door, says hello and goodbye to Fultz. And for good measure, why not just use a Selma to get rid of one of these Evil Eyes?
Yeah, well, the main problem is now used one of those to get rid of the Evil Eyes, but Thinking Nade still has 2 impact grenades, and that's gonna... No, he actually gets it! Oh no, Thinking Nade botches one of the impacts. I thought they'd be able to keep it sealed, but no. Easily now has a crossfire going into planes. This is winnable from the Sonics. They really just need another one of these picks to come through. Canadian still has some impacts to be able to assist with this site control, but the main problem for the Sonics is going to be Bosco, still existing inside a site with 3 smokes, especially going into this last minute. With these drones rolling in though, they are going to have some good intel. Super still having an 2 EE1Ds inside of his pocket. This round could go either way. Still have the steady control, easily working his way in through planes. They're working on pinching out Bar. Super takes down one, easily follows through with another. It's down to Bosco and Rampy. Bosco's gonna have to play this situation perfectly. Shotgun in hand, trying to down him, but he headshots him instead. Smoke grenade out. A lot of damage onto Super as he waltzes his way inside a gun vault. But this might be his dance of death instead. Re-peeks back into planes, has 2 to worry about. Pops the EE1D, but he's on very low HP. They know exactly where he is. Pre-fires into the game's door, but doesn't find anything. Almost walks into that smoke there, but instead tries to pressure. It's Bosco with a singular shot heard around Villa that claims the map, and that's exactly why SSG brought the Sonics to Villa.
2 very impressive rounds from Bosco push SSG over the edge here. First one is on the inside of the art vault downstairs, and the second one from behind the bar as they finally are able to get their aviation and games defense together. SSG will claim victory here on map number 1 of the series, putting them ahead just barely though in a 7-5 victory, and with quite a few close calls. This series is far from over. The Sonics still have a chance for revenge on the 2nd and 3rd maps, but they now have to win it out from this point forward. Don't go anywhere, guys, as map 2 is going to be coming up right around the corner. We've got a quick break for you and some analysis right after that, but it's not going to be much longer before we'll return with the second map between these two very excellent teams here at the major qualifier.
In classic nail-biter fashion, Spacestation Gaming were able to pull away with the win. The Soniqs, you know, they came big, but it was a little bit too late. We saw Iconic with a slow start, but then he started to heat up along with Sleppin on this roster. We saw some great gameplay from Super, but overall, it just wasn't enough for Folks, Rampy, and the rest of the Space Boys.
Space Station were able to pull a 4-2 attacking half, and then they switch to defense, and it starts to look a little bit like classic Villa does. The way it works now is if it's a 3-3 half or a 4-2 on the attack, it's typically the way it pans out, but then they lock down their defensive half. Thinking Nate goes utterly massive on Maestro through their whole defense half, and well, at the end of the day, Space Station now find themselves up by a point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good map. This is what I said beforehand. Like, watch this map because it's going to be a really high-level game, and I think that's exactly what we saw. Both teams had really strong attacks, I think, for different reasons, and I really did enjoy watching this matchup because it was sort of the best of the best, and there were some small mistakes, sure, I'd say, from both teams, but overall, this was just a really high-skilled game. Both teams should be proud of how they played it. Obviously, SSG a little bit better, but that was a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, speaking about a barn burner, hey, you know, I can't wait for map 2 to happen. I'm hoping there's a map 3 as well. But Jesse, let's break the game down along with Jacob, right? But for you, individually, we saw some great plays and a lot of great IGL work coming in from Canadian. Shout out to Stokes. He called it. We saw the ping. We saw the plants go down. And it was kind of, it was great to see Space Station working hard to get that diffuser down. What did you notice about their objective play?
Well, their plans were fantastic. You know, that goes back to their attacking strats being really, really nice. Their aviator attacks as well. I saw some stuff on Twitter, you know, really, people were impressed by that, and I was as well. Managing to use that smoke to their benefit on most of those attacks, both on Trophy and on Aviator. It worked a little bit better on Aviator. But utilizing those, and then obviously the coverage as well. Thinking Nate hit a huge game. Canadian was doing some good plant coverage as well. Villa's one of those maps, particularly Aviator, where you don't always give your hard breacher the diffuser to plant it just because of where the people are coming from, right? Yeah. So I thought that, you know, Faults and Bosco and whoever else was getting those plants down were doing a really great job changing up that spot, you know, keeping the Soniqs on their toes and utilizing that smoke to stop them from seeing, you know, where that plant was going to go down. It would have been nice for Soniqs to bring in like an ace ban or something, but like the Ying ban was totally warranted as well because Space Station do run Ying on Villa quite a bit. So yeah, it was a tough time for Soniqs on defense, and I think that largely comes down to the plant play from SSG.
I feel like mostly the tough time for the Soniqs came whenever Thinking Nate was on the board. I mean, we saw Foes have an immaculate round. I believe it was the second round where he was able to get the grenade kill, and grenade down. He shot through the floor and got a kill. Great players on this team having pretty plays, but there's one player that isn't usually a walking highlight reel like his teammates, and it's Thinking Nate. The work that he does is essentially is thankless, right? Jacob, what impact did Thinking Nate really have in this matchup?
I mean, he's the god tier flank watch that we all know and love him as, and that's he's always had that reputation. He was doing the same thing on SSG's attacking half. He was playing Nomad, and he was also half of the reason why those aviator attacks for SSG worked out as immaculately as they did, especially that very final 1v2 clutch when he's sitting in study. He gets swung by 2 people from the study doorway and cleans house. You forget how much mechanical skill this guy has just because of the roles that he's sometimes put on, and they aren't nearly as flashy. But then he gets slapped on Maestro. Again, a role you don't typically associate with being nearly as, you know, high risk, high reward. It's an operator that's only one speed, you have to stick on site, but he just finds kills. You have you press mouse 1, you grab those frags. That's just how you play with Maestro. And when he's just sitting back and waiting for Soniqs to come into his crosshairs, his stat line, if we can see it in a second, really does show that he was in the right place at the right time almost all the time.
All right, so Jesse, excuse me, we have stats this in. Thank you, Production. Go ahead and throw it up on the screen. And I'm happy because it goes into our next topic that I was going to bring up to you, Jesse. We saw Super with some big plays. You said yourself you like to see him on Lion. He did some great stuff also involved with that 2K, but it seemed like everybody on this roster was picking things up except Iconic. We talk about him a lot. He's our player to watch, but 3-11, and he was 0-6 before he got his first kill. He wasn't 0-7 yet. When map 2 comes around, if you were to have a 1v1 with Iconic and you were the IGO, what are some things that you would want to tell him to really pick things up?
I mean, like, it's got to be a mental thing, right? We know Iconic has some fantastic mechanical skill. We know he's a great player. I think sometimes he was out of position, but honestly, like in that first half, that wasn't the biggest problem for me. It just seemed like he wasn't mentally with the rest of his team, you know? And it's kind of early. I can see that. It's, you know, game 1. They didn't play till game 2 yesterday. If he needs some time to warm up, I think that's fine. Obviously, it hurt them in that first half, and you can make the argument that if Iconic was a little bit warmer in that first half, maybe this, you know, result turns differently. Maybe it's a 7-5 for Soniqs. Maybe we go to OT. You could theorize with that all you want. But I don't expect it to be a problem for Iconic going forward. Like, we saw him in map 1, 3-11. Okay, 0% headshot rating's not great considering he used to lead the league there. But I expect him to get better. I don't want to see that again from him. If that continues later on to the day, that's going to be a huge problem.
Production is actually shady for this one. This is the shadiest graphic I've seen in my life. Iconic had a bad game and they put him up against Foltz. That's not fair. But Jacob, map 2 is coming. What should we expect for the people at home?
How about Oregon and a 100% ban rate by SSG over the past couple of months?
Yep.
That's not a map that they ever want to go to. It's not a map they've played in the North American League. We don't really know what SSGO in Oregon looks like. And that's because they've decided they're going to take it off the table. We will always ask the question, if some team bans off a map consistently like we see here, does that mean that they're saving strats for it or that they just don't have anything prepped? As far as I'm concerned, with a World Championship team like SSG, I'm pretty darn sure they've got something saved up, because I don't think that as high caliber regimen as they go through, as much as they have proven themselves over the past, 6 to 12 months, I'm pretty darn sure they've got something prepped. So they wouldn't just leave it hanging.
I mean, we'll see. And for those of you at home, yes, we're waiting for the lobby to get started. We're waiting for a Spacestation Gaming player, so you can go ahead and blame them for everything else. But we had our community poll. If you followed the socials, like I asked you nicely earlier on, that the question was, who continues the strong play to help propel their team into the grand final? And like the graphic we showed you before, it was our players to watch. Folks from Space Station and Iconic from Soniqs. And Jesse, who do you think won?
Well, it should have been Foltz based on what we saw. I think he had a great game, particularly attacking, right, on those new roles. He did great. I probably would have voted for him as well. I don't know what the community ended up going with.
Well, the community is going to be coming up soon. Jacob, okay, the answer's right here. 73% for Foltz, okay? We have believers out there. Right. The Space Station fans, they know greatness when they see it, right? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, map number 2 is about to go underway, and before it does, I want to send it over to some lovely casters. Blue and Stokes, take it away.
Thank you very much, Belly, and it is just about time, folks, for that second map. Indeed, it's an interesting one, more notably for SSG than it is for the Soniqs, in that SSG just haven't played this map anytime in recent history, at least anytime with the new version of it coming into the fold. For the Soniqs, they've played it quite a bit, and they've looked quite strong. The problem is, though, in the context of who their opponents were in those matchups, they have 2 victories versus Tempo Storm and 3 losses to Disrupt, United, and Mirage. They've also banded out twice against Dark Zero, so it leaves questions of whether even the Soniqs feel they're ready to take down SSG on it. Clearly, they feel they are, of course, since this is their map pick, but what do you think, Stokes?
Honestly, I think they've got a major problem on their hands, and I can tell you exactly why. I just opened up a random Google page, typed in Space Station Gaming Oregon, and I watched through every single one of those videos very quickly, scrubbing through. I couldn't find a single VOD of the Soniqs on New Oregon. that's going to be a major problem because you have no idea how they're going to try and handle this map. Obviously, some of it's going to be rudimentary stuff, but like what we saw on Villa, SSG always has something up their sleeve, and if you have no read on them at all, that just makes things even more scary.
It's definitely going to be a scary occasion for the Sonics going up against SSG, who, like we said, has yet to really try anything. There's a possibility that they may have, either gotten information on or at least had a chance to go up against SSG on this map in scrims. It's really hard to kind of speculate on that, though, simply because we don't know when or who scrims are taking place against, so won't necessarily bring that into consideration here. But there is the possibility of that. More than likely, it hasn't happened, though. So that means that Sonics are going to be a little bit in the dark here with regards to what SSG are going to be bringing out onto the table, and that could prove problematic. At the same time, though, the Sonics themselves, from the matches we've seen them playing on this map, they've proven to be quite a diverse team in their capability to handle, especially on attack, multiple different types of site takes here. So I think the Sonics will hopefully be ready, and definitely won't be stunted, at least, by anything SSG are going to be throwing at them. Just may take them a couple of rounds to get a piece of the puzzle, because they're going to be starting out on attack, folks, and there's no more delay. It is time to go into the game, take a look at our bans, and see which operators are going to be getting knocked out of the pool this time. Let's take a peek.
Let's jump into it. And I really like what you were talking about in Sonic's ability to diversify things in any map that they really play. Oh man, here it comes, John. I'm gonna stop my words right there. We got a Nomad ban.
That's the super
from SSG.
target ban, right?
That's the super target ban right there, baby. So gonna have Nomad off the board. Somebody's gonna have to worry about flank. Sonic's going to remove Ace.
That's the Canadian
so we're
target
not
ban.
that's the hard destructor target ban in general, man. Easily is just equally as scary with that guy. At least I would argue. We're gonna have the Maestro ban come in as well, and just to make sure you guys know, since this is our first Maestro ban of the day, Echo is also banned. We haven't seen him throughout the day because of that. Since he is banned, Maestro being banned means that you no longer have a extremely potent anchor operator. So, Wamai going to be our last ban here on Oregon. Pretty par for the course. Extremely excited for this matchup between these two.
Yeah, defender ban's very similar, especially with Wamai being brought into the picture. That does mean that Valkyrie is going to be unlocked, an operator that we did not get to see in the previous map. So it could be some interesting play that'll come up as a result of that. It's assuming, of course, the defenders get the opportunity to use it, which, hey, looks like we're going to get one right off the bat here from Fultz. So you guys will have a great chance to see that. Super will immediately fall back onto Lion. That has been his go-to when we have Nomad bans in play. And in fact, in the last map was the go-to, even though I don't even think Nomad was banned out in the last map, if memory serves me correctly. We also have Ying unbanned now as well. And we're also going to see that immediately as a first pick here. Slebin's going to be 6-picking over towards it.
That's a really smart 6-pick here by the Sonics, recognizing that SSG doesn't have any wall denial and not really thinking that SSG was going to, try and adopt any. So they quickly 6-pick away from that Thatcher, pick up the Ying. This is going to make them a lot more potent on their execute. I mean, guys, simply look to the right-hand side of your screen here. We have so many throwables just inside a secondary utility. Then you stack on top of that the Candelas that can blind anyone from a country mile. And you're in for a really tough time on site if you can't get rid of a lot of this utility, and that Wamai ban coming in is going to make this even stronger. So SSG is going to have to worry about a lot of things here. I feel like a lot of these rounds inside of Oregon are going to be based inside of the early round. These early picks are really going to influence how these goes, especially if the defense is able to pick off some of these Sonics members.
Well, quite a bit of a reinforcement being set up to the inside of Arsenal. No setup for anybody to play in there just yet, but that could be changing over the next few moments here. Rampy still doing a little bit of a run around. He does not have any shields anymore to set himself up for, but he does get himself to the inside. Definitely looks like he wants to play around the main stairs area at a minimum. As far as the Sonics are concerned, we do have that little bit of pressure from Super going into the very same room. Slebin also quickly droning things out towards walk-in and easily investigating the front door. Rampy has been spotted on the inside, so it's no longer a surprise play if he decides to stay here. He'll start to fall back, and in another part of the map, Gomfi is also opening up some play possibilities over here by the big window.
There's a lot going on for the Sonics right now, but the only thing that's not is the attic. They do have one member over inside of the attic right now, and they don't necessarily need a ton of people either if they do want to go for this avenue. But as of right now, this is looking like it's going to be a full-on, no-holds-barred execute onto the double window. Slebin pressures up with one of his Candelas. They now have trophy control. Gomfi going to be handling attic in a different way, but doesn't apply too much pressure. Just opens up the window and then adjusts across the map. The Sonics really looking for a pick right here, trying to pressure off of of those Candelas, but they have to let Sleben lead this charge. He has the case on him right now, so don't expect anything just yet. Still a lot of work to be done for this offense.
The timing on the drone by Attic is going to be very important right now, because if it's allowed to go up and it isn't spotted, that's going to happen. Rampy is able to get to the top of it, gets over by the window and finds an early pick on Super. They were checking that drone before, but they had gone off it. Because everybody was alive, nobody was preset to watch that. He's allowed to go up, is allowed to get that pick. Very nicely found by Rampy, and he gets away with it too. He's snuck all the way back over towards main top stairs now. He's going to try to see if he can maybe do it again with another flank going back up through Arsenal. Gomfi is watching for it this time, though, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pull off. However, with good timing, it might not even matter. At the moment, they brought it down to a 5v3. Gomfi does expect the play, but he still can't win the fight anyway. That's a second now for Rampy.
Well, we have Sleben on the door, and they're going to have to make good on this execute. It's a 2 versus 5. Candela's in. Can he get the initial kill? He can. Sleben knocks Canadian down a peg, easily picking up a kill on the other side of the map as well. All of a sudden, this is doable. Case control currently in the hands of Easily as Sleben tosses in his last Candela, but Fultz with a nice headshot cleans that up. Now down to the 1 versus 2. But Easily has a lot to worry about, especially this Banshee on the top of White Stairs. This is going to be very problematic as he bullies his way in here, but Bosco with a quick shot with that SMG-11. Expected here from SSG as they claim round 1.
SSG with a very solid hold, most notably a very solid flank work being done by Rampy, puts a massive dent in the overall impact there, and is even able to carry it forward, delaying another player and eventually killing that player as well to bring the overall total down to a 5v3. A valiant attempt from Soniqs to bring it back, as they almost are able to make that work, but just didn't have enough player count at that point and not enough utility, it seems, to be able to clear out the own defender utility that was sitting on the site, leading quite a few of the remaining players into just traps that were set up by that owned, man, using the word utility too much here, by that defender utility, and ultimately allowed for a quick shutdown at the end of it from SSG.
It's not like you can exactly be like, yeah, the defender stuff.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
I need a thesaurus real quick here for utility. Give me a second.
Somebody hit some synonyms real quick. We need some assistance
I'm actually
on the
looking
desk.
these up right now.
Well, if you could riddle some off, I'd really be appreciative of that. But let's get into this real quick. John, you were talking about in the previous matchup that the roam game for SSG was going to be the difference maker for this team, and that's exactly what happened inside of that last round. We saw a huge round from Rampy there, and that's what we need to see continue on for SSG. The main problem is, though, the Soniqs have done a very good job at setting up for these roam potentials. It's just the simple fact that timing caught them off guard the last time, and they took down Super. That removes the EE1Ds from the Soniqs, excuse me, which they've done a very, very good job of throughout the entire day-to-day, utilizing well up against these defensive setups. So, taking him off the board, high impact, and then they're able to just steamroll through the rest of the team. So, for the Soniqs, you have to worry about this roam game and what SSG can possibly do with it, because again, those early picks are going to be the hindrance.
The synonym game is not looking too strong, by the way, so we might be out of luck on that one.
We're gonna start making up words.
I don't think
on desk.
Google's definition of utility is the same as mine, so the synonyms
It's
are
not
pretty
the
useless.
siege definition.
I'm just gonna start calling them trinkets and really make people angry.
Oh no.
Don't worry, I'll absolutely never do that. So pretty usual setup here for our defenders. You've got that usual half wall there that the Goyo is going to be able to press out and then eventually fall back and pocket reinforce if they want to do that, although we've been seeing less and less of that in more recent times. Away from this, we actually have very little action going on in the tunnel. The Soniqs look like they are trying to put pressure in on a different part of the map. It's going to be that small tower clear that's started to become very, very popular in the past few weeks here, with Easily, Gomfi, and Sleben already having completed the east to west drill here. They've already cleared out that entire half of the first floor, and are about to clear out the rest of it here too as they move into meeting.
And making good progress here, and Ying's along for the ride once again, so the Soniqs feeling as though Sleben definitely had an impact, and I feel as though he did as well. I mean, the Candelas worked out really well. He was able to blind quite a few people and take some engagements strictly based off of that Candela utility, so smart idea to bring him back into the fray. But they're going to have to still worry about this aggressive positioning here from SSG, specifically Bosco right now, but he's going to be really, really smart about how he plays this out. Drops the smoke and immediately backs up, knowing the hatch is going to get popped. So with that hatch now being popped, the Soniqs have control of Laundry, but that's going to be it. With the update of Oregon, that hatch is a whole hell of a lot less potent than it used to be.
So flashes in from Laundry here, so the Sonics can start putting some pressure onto the actual site, get their players out from the staircase. Probably going to be some time before they really commit themselves to it, though. You really can't execute with just that singular angle, or at least you can't execute with good confidence at a minimum. Iconic and Easily ready to kind of start swinging out onto site. Oh! Fultz very much ready for that, though. Finds the first pick. Oh! Not ready for Gumpy on the hatch drop, though. He's going to be able to pick up 2 now as he finds both Fultz and Rampy. Starting to get a little low on HP, so we'll have to be careful because Thinking Nade still has the angle from the inside of the breach. He still has additional pressure coming from the freezer, though, and he's not aware of it. So Iconic gets the trade, and now the diffuser gets down onto the ground. Everything's fallen to Canadian in the 1vx. Nitro goes out. It's not close enough to Iconic to kill him. The swing from Iconic will put him back in relative safety, and Canadian will be in an even worse position now. Has to go for a very, very wide push. He's potentially going to walk into a crossfire here if he's not careful. Seems like he's very much aware of it, but still not ready to take the fight against Slebin when push comes to shove. The Sonics win out round number 2 and tie us up at 1-1.
Very quick round there from the Sonics, and played that crossfire so well for the Laundry area there. Overall, SSG just not able to bring it back when they needed to most, and especially down into that 1 versus 3. I thought Canadian at least had, you know, some sort of horse in the race with that Nitro Cell, but the Nitro Cell not able to kill Sledge, and that's just somehow sometimes how it goes now, folks. You know, we do now have you know, the different explosive, explosive mechanics inside of the game, and the splash damage just not hitting its mark properly. Especially mainly because Iconic was feet first, which soaked up a lot of that damage. It was just, you know, very, very sad that Canadian was not able to follow through. But great for the Sonics members, closing it out, getting the plant down exactly where they needed, able to play it from that Laundry hatch. So a lot of good stuff going on for the Sonics, able to get around on the board here, and at least that's a start.
Start indeed, and for this SSG roster, not remaining too hard-headed on their own site choices here. Definitely convinced that basement is not the play, at least for the time being. So they're going to move over here into cafeteria and kitchen for their next defense. This is an interesting site in the way that it's played, just because it's another site that is often played really off the site, at least when it comes to cafeteria. You oftentimes want to set your defenders up where Rampy and Fultz are positioned right now on the inside of the showers. Set 1 to 2 players up for success in this room. Give them good rotate capability so they can fall back if things go badly, and then also allow for more play deeper in the other site as well. And ultimately, just try to use your Nitro Cells and other forms of utility to stop the attackers from getting control of that further outside, since the most common route of attack is going to be to take small tower, as you're seeing right now.
Very well done, my friend. That showers room going to be, that showers room, the most important room on this entire site, as you said. I mean, ADS is most of SSG's utility going to be dedicated here, as well as a dedicated player to hold down Fultz's hallway. They've moved the Mira up front so that Fultz has some intel as well to peek off of. There's a lot of things going on right now for this SSG setup. They really want to try and take these gunfights. They get rid of the other Mira, though. We saw that Mira get placed on the double for the small tower as well. The Sonics still wanting to walk into this, but it's mostly just drone game right now to figure out if they actually want to start on this side of the map. They got some vertical play going on, or they got that Mira popped once again on the double. Now they just have to worry about these shower players.
E1D charge going out, but Fultz fends the tide back. Slebin is going to get destroyed as he tries to swing a little bit closer to the bathrooms there. Fultz still might have more on his plate, though, as 2 more players are standing close by. I'm not sure if he's been able to spot them yet. He sees the constant feed of drones coming his way, though, so he should be very much expecting additional pressure as he's taken down a solid 3-4 drones just on his own. Impact goes out for good measure, not really going to do a lot of damage, and well, that's a very, very brief response there from Iconic as he takes him out with a nade of his own. Rampy able to still swing from the yellow 90 corner, though, finds another pick, and why not make it another one here, as it's a double on the round for him. Super did take out his teammate Canadian a little bit further back. Easily, in the meantime, has been pressured further away from the site due to a smoke charge going off. And it's only Easily and Iconic left in the fight right now. They have to find some way to rally back from this 2v3 and win out this round.
SSG playing this so well right now with their positioning. We saw Rampy get that nice 2K. He immediately backs up, respecting that timer. Could have tried to play that advanced position, but knew that these Sonics members are more than likely going to have to try and push out that showers area. So he skimpers back onto site. Oh, Easily right past his ear. That guy heard that bullet whiz past. Get some damage onto Easily, and this is a flashback from these previous games that we've seen on that exact angle for the Sonics, and it's going to happen again. easily getting taken down by the smoke now instead. They still have to worry about the Banshee in the hallway, but now they know exactly where Iconic is. He walks in, he gets lit up. Rampy just gonna let that gun sing as he removes the head from the shoulders of Iconic, and SSG claim their second defensive round.
Iconic trying his best just to face check that for intel, but he gives a little bit too much away, and Rampy is able to finish him off before the scoping even completed by Iconic. A great hold from SSG. Some scary moments there as they eventually lose control of the shower, but I believe it's all part of the plan for SSG. They still very much had control over the overall round at that point, on top of a man advantage to work off of too. So it's just a matter of delaying those remaining 2 players and forcing them into a kill box, which is exactly what SSG were able to do. They take the lead, although only a small one for now, at 2-1, and they're going to head back up to the kids' dorms, where they've also found success earlier on in this map.
SSG looking really strong in the defenses so far. They are going to be 6-picking away from the Vigil and picking up the Warden once again, and I think this is a really, really good pickup. Not only because of the 1.5, but just because of how the Sonics have been playing so far. That Will My ban is going to make Warden even more potent, and since the Sonics have been bringing those Candelas with Ying, this even exemplifies that issue. I mean, he's going to be probably one of the most utilized operators inside of this defensive lineup, simply because of how often the Sonics have not only been utilizing those smokes, but also using those stun grenades, and Foltz can get aggressive off of those every single time. As soon as he has his glasses on, he can take any of those gunfights through smoke, through those stun grenades, and it's going to come up big for SSG if he's allowed to do so. For the Sonics, though, especially inside of that last round, I feel like they got too hyper-focused on one section of the map. They wanted showers so damn bad, but they didn't worry about the Warden inside of the L, and that was the biggest problem. And let me tell you, the Warden definitely delivered that L home very, very quickly. I just want to see the Sonics try and deal with things as a team in those, tight-knit sections inside of the map, instead of just trying to spearhead their way inside of one room.
All right, guys. Well, you can spearhead your way to some good new looks with the great skins that are available now in the store. Like you can see there, we got some great new Rainbow Six Share skins. Got the Space Station set that I believe we're showing off on screen right now. Sure to go ahead in game and check them out, as they are the best way to support the Rainbow Six scene.
Some of the best looking skins in the entire game, folks. If you're going to drop some money on some skins, you might as well drop it on those esports skins. Love every single one of them. Personal favorite, I got to say once again, it's got to be the TSM skin. I'm sorry, SSG boys, but the dragon on the gloves is just way too sick. Bosco now going to be playing deep inside of dorms, worried about the double window. SSG worried about multiple things here, especially downstairs. Rampy going to be on a solo roam, at least for the time being. The rest of the SSG members sitting by themselves inside of site. Going to be utilizing these impacts to try and deal with the master closet. Get rid of one set of X-Kairos, but the next set will go off.
Both players from SSG having to check out the terrain. There might be a drone on the loose somewhere in sight that they haven't been able to figure out where it is just yet. So this has allowed for quite a bit of progress to be made on the Sonics camp here. You can see they not only have a good POV into the site, but they've just made generally good progress on getting close to their execution point overall here. A large amount of the SSG roster has been forced back into the kids' dorms here. And oh no, Bosco going to try to put himself into a corner that he thought was safe, but no, it presents the angle to Iconic. He nearly as well catches the run out from Rampy, but Rampy will instead win that one out. Foltz is also able to find the next kill in a slim, but they have not been able to stop the plant. That's still gone down in a 4v3 post plant. The Sonics must now hold on here. Might just be able to do it. A couple players falling back to the outside. They might have better capability to get into a post-plant position just like that. Comfy with the swing around. He gets 2. Let's make it 3 as he finishes off Foltz as well. Over to the sidearm to see if he can do 4, and yes, he can. Comfy shuts it down for the Sonics as they take round number 4.
Those white stairs are looking a whole hell of a lot more red, John, as Gomfy is able to clean up the 4K into the post plant. And honestly, I thought SSG could possibly get it done, especially since they were already worried about the game's window. But Sonics, in a really, really dynamic way, able to get that diffuser down. We really didn't see too much site play happen there. There was a lot of engagements going on over near small tower. SSG seemed to be really worried about Iconic outside, and that presented the perfect opportunity for the Sonics to walk in and get that plant down. Really well done from Super there to call it on the ball right as they needed it. I mean, 2-2 right now on Oregon with the Nomad ban in play. He's stepping up when needed.
Some beautiful stuff being played by both teams. Really neck and neck rounds coming up here as well. As once more, we have an incredibly close scoreline between these two teams. Going down to another site where SSG is yet to find any success. This was won outright by the Soniqs the last time it was defended, and SSG immediately moved away from it. We'll see if there's going to be a better setup in the cards for SSG on the second attempt, as they're running out of time to pick up rounds on their defensive half, just this round and the next. And then they'll have to switch over towards attack. Nothing crazy coming up here. I do want to note that the Goyo has now been swapped out for SSG, so we might be seeing more standard play in the actual site. Not sure if we're going to get that usual half wall that a lot of teams like to play into over towards construction. That would actually be a pretty big departure from what's normally been the meta. Yeah, immediately both those walls are going to be reinforced right off the bat, so a much closer to the site setup is going to be played here this time by SSG.
Oh, this is a completely different setup than what we have seen, honestly, ever. We haven't seen anyone hold meeting like this. They're going to have an extended... Oh, SSG, you cheeky people. SSG are pulling an SSG roam on Oregon instead of club. That's exactly what the setup is. They've extended their reinforcements out to hold this entire mid-level, as well as made the hatches to drop back down to site. They've taken their clubhouse plans and what everyone knew them for, that 100% win ratio defensive setup, and applied it to Oregon, and it actually looks really strong. We have Rampy in a solid position here on tower. SSG members allowed to play inside of meeting with these reinforcements and the hatches to drop. The Soniqs are going to have to go all the way upstairs and try and deal with this through attic and separate means, because if they try and take these gunfights, there's enough SSG members for those refrags.
See quite a few members of SSG really just waiting for their opportunity to strike. The Soniqs certainly have to be aware of somewhat of what's going on here now as they start to investigate what exactly is going on the inside. Easily sees the reinforcement there on the meeting room panel and immediately backs away along with his teammate. They're going to be repositioning to a different part of the map to try and see if they can maybe execute with better pressure from there. And it looks like front doors where they're going to choose to go. The drone has worked its way into sight over there, so they do get a little bit of intel as to what the actual site looks like. And now indeed Easily will begin to move in. You can see this Valkyrie camera played by Canadian going to get a little bit of intel about what exactly is going on there. Only really sees the Habana entering along with, well, excuse me, the Habana not entering for very long apparently, as Rampy is able to get himself in the midst of that fight by going up the freezer stairs and pick up the first kill. That also removes the hard breach so far, with only the laundry hatch being dealt with. So that's a lot of access now gone from the Soniqs, and they won't have the capability to get it back at any point in the round here.
Yeah, some major problems for the Soniqs right now. They need to get laundry control as well, but the main problem is they can't get the hatch open. Hard Destructor now gone, and there was a mute jammer in the first place. Rampy stepping up to the plate. He gets rid of the first one as Ash burrows her way down the staircase. Iconic going to follow suit. Frag grenade in, but he just picks it up with regular lead instead. Gets swung on, but oh no, they're not able to follow through. But Fultz re-peeks the freezer door. Iconic takes him down. This plant actually has the possibility of happening now with the smoke coming in, as well as the EU1Ds. The setup looked super strong for the Soniqs, but now it's the Slevin show. He walks into the closet, takes down one Canadian, firing back. They clean up the man inside a freezer. It's left up to Super, the captain of the Soniqs, to try and make this one happen inside of the post plant.
He's got a box line up for himself here too. Sees the spray from one of the players and gets baited in by it, allowing for Thinking to complete his full rotate around into laundry, giving him the free kill on Super, and of course plenty of excess time for the counter defuse to give SSG round number 5 and their first successful defense here on the basement site. Beautiful roam setup from them. Iconic nearly making up the difference in the mid round there as they were going for the XQ, but it proved not to be enough as the retake from SSG, and as well as the hold deeper in sight, proves to be just a little bit too strong.
Overall, an amazing round there for SSG, and that's going to be the first retake, I believe, that we've seen them win today. I don't think I have anything else on the docket here from the previous rounds where we saw a plant go down and they were able to get it back. So some really nice stuff there from SSG, and again, you got to tip the cap over towards SSG and Lycan and the rest of the squad, because that was a beautiful setup there. Really like what we saw. That's one of the freshest, sites that I've seen in some time here on Oregon. So
definitely some innovation from SSG and showing up when it counts here too. Maybe wondering why these sorts of things may be coming out in this series and not necessarily the next one where the actual qualification is on the line more so. And the answer to that is that there is a one map advantage on the line for whoever gets to the grand finals first. So quite a bit of an incentive to make it there, as it's one whole map you don't have to win in that final series.
Yeah, I actually completely forgot about the map advantage again today. So I was like, oh yeah, 11 maps is a possibility. It's actually 10. 10 is the possibility for today. So we are going to have 3 ADSs dedicated inside of showers. SSG was really worried about this position the last time. We're going to have a very, very similar setup to what we saw. We'll see if Canadian puts that other Mira down in a very similar position. This time around, though, they are going to be opening up the hole here that you see Canadian popping through. I believe we had that the last time. We're going to have a Banshee there to block that off, just in case anyone wants to try and rush down Fultz. But it is really going to be up to Rampy and Fultz to shut down this take by the Sonics once again. We'll see if the Sonics want to try and go about this in a very similar fashion. Last time they just tried to spearhead their way into showers. Did not work out well for them as Slebin got clotheslined by bullets right off rip.
They were able to at least negotiate for control of showers eventually. It just didn't leave them with really comfortable numbers to actually take the site in a late round situation. So more than anything, they just need to kind of clean up their take of showers here, try to do it with much more minimal losses, and hopefully less drones getting lost this time too, as I think that was also a problem for them in the late round before. Like right now, Fultz is cleaning them up pretty easily. He's been able to get 2 for himself. He's going to get locked down for a second here as he runs out of ADS, is ready to rotate out if the need should arise, but he's sticking around for now. Chucks in an impact, thinking, oh no, Fultz again just going to get deleted by a grenade here. No hope to escape that one. Thinking they did take a little bit of damage earlier too, but it's not too much to comment on as he's still at over 75. Rampy's been spotted. The ADSs are gone. It's probably a smart move for him to back up now just in case another nade was about to be chucked in, especially with that EE1D charge coming in, as that would very much serve well into the grenade, considering that player would be locked down during that period of time. Gonfi taking quite a bit of heat as he tries to move into Yellow Hall. The rest of the team also looking for their option to execute forward. Bosco nearly getting sniped out by a nade, but in the meanwhile, Rampy able to find success eliminating Super.
Well, now some problems for both sides here as Super's gone as well as Fultz, but the damage definitely more prominent on the SSG side than Canadian and Bosco. Both lit up right now. Plenty of time here to try and make something happen. Slebin's going to botch one Candela, but might not be as botched as you would initially think. Plant starts to go down easily all the way on the breach with this plant. Nitro still out, but actually Rampy gets him through the smoke. They assumed that they could get away with it, but the goggles are a little too good here for the Ramp Dog. Able to take down the planter. Case now down on the breach. This is looking like an SSG round right now, but Sonics still definitely have a chance. Bosco going to steal the words right out of my mouth, though. Proving me wrong time and time again. It's now down to Gonfi, but Canadian there to nip it in the bud. SSG look way too strong on Kitchen.
Once again, you can see how that setup works really well for the defenders. You're only really having to put 1 to 2 players at risk at any given time, with the rest of your team just kind of on fallback. In the event that one of them goes down, that additional player can push forward, take up the previous position, or take up a similar angle to look for a trade. And while all this is going on, those other players are also watching for flanks as well. So it's definitely not easy to get past, and Sonics struggle a little bit too much with it that time. SSG come out successfully and pick up the final round of their defensive half, leading them at a 4-2 scoreline now as they jump onto attack.
The Sonics accounted for mostly everything there. They did a really good job of clearing showers this time. They didn't even lose a single person. They knew what they were doing with the frag grenade cross as well. Iconic with a very well-placed hand grenade there after they burned all of those ADSs. The main problem there for them was they weren't able to keep a bead on Rampy's position, as well as they really forgot that Rampy was allowed to see through smokes. Again, it's not something that happens, very often. We really don't see Warden brought into play. So you gotta give him the benefit of the doubt there. But if that plant goes down, that round goes to the Sonics almost every single time. I mean, the post plant there to try and retake that with the vertical play as well as the positions that you can play inside of small tower. That's the Sonics almost every single day. So that's 2 times in a row that Rampy was able to get in the way of a round win for the Sonics.
Yeah, that first plant attempt is often kind of the flashpoint for the defenses on that side. If it goes off well, it's usually the attack that's going to win it, and if it gets denied, well, at that point, the case is normally locked into the site, so unless the attackers have a massive utility dump that they've been saving and didn't use on the initial plant attempt, it's going to be very hard just to get the case back in your possession, let alone make an actual second plant attempt. So definitely a bit of a tricky site to handle as an attacker, and one that you can decisively figure out the round outcome from pretty early on as a defender. Things are going to move into the basement here now for the Sonics as they start out their defensive half of the defense here. Things are being played much more naturally in terms of what we've come to expect so far within this stage here on Oregon. We've got that half wall defense going out to the tunnel. Mirror window on it this time as well. So more than likely, we're not going to see that get late reinforced. More like we're actually not even going to see too much activity outside of the mirror window, just because you can play behind it and play a lot more safely. But that's all going to be varied depending on what we see early on here from SSG, which is actually not a lot of tunnel play, something we're not used to seeing for the most part here against the site attack. Usually you've got at least 1 to 2 players going in there.
Yeah, with a lot of utility dedicated there as well, you know what I mean? But it seems that SSG want to go about things the way that the Sonics did, that freezer laundry take. A lot of teams really, really liking this, and I'm assuming that's exactly why Super set up the way, in the way that he did. Set up inside a closet with this mirror window over towards the left-hand side. We usually see it on the right, so you're able to access it from the door, but worried about those crossfires there. So Super going to be in a quite the safe position. Also, he has that Nitro Cell with him, so he's going to be able to stop a lot of this at 1.5 as well, going to help him at range. So a lot of this setup right now going to be leaning on how potent Super can be here.
First player trying to test their luck on the laundry swing. Super's in the way. That wooden pillar's probably not there from Super's POV, by the way, just so you guys are aware of that. Normally that debris is client-sided, so more than likely he's not seeing that. But regardless, SSG getting ready to make their first little aggressive attempts to move in to the Sonics territory. How well it will go is yet to be seen. But SSG have held it off, still doing a bit more drone work before they're willing to commit themselves towards it. Like very much at the edge of the Sonics territory, but Sonics playing incredibly turtly, so they'll wait for this. They have no problem being patient. They want SSG to be the team that makes the first move here.
And most notably, they want to be the team with the first pick. If SSG makes the first error, the Sonics have a really good chance of winning this round. We heard Jesse talking about that prior. They have almost an 80% chance with the opening kill, and that's what the Sonics really, really want. 80% win rate is damn high. So only 30 seconds remain for the Sonics to try and win out this round. SSG's got to make some magic happen here, but Bosco's the first one through the door, and he's going to get taken down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for that. Looks like we just dropped out of the match real quick, so we're going to look to get in there as quickly as we can. Got a little bit of a crash, but hopefully it's not going to be too long before we're able to jump back into the server. Unfortunate truth, more than likely the players were unaffected by that. We'll get confirmation in a moment, but more than likely that did not happen to the players, so that round is probably going to play out to its conclusion, and we'll just have the results of it. Won't be able to get replays on that or anything like that. It's just the way that plays sometimes, but we should be able to jump back in after that round's conclusion at whatever the scoreline is at that point. So, like I said, bit of an unfortunate truth. That's more than likely what's going to play out here based on what's happened in the past.
Yeah, we really only have 2 possibilities here, so well, obviously, you know, one of the teams is going to win the round, but just initially off of that pick, I really do think that the Sonics are going to end up winning that. That basement execute's going to be really difficult. We saw SSG wrapping around the entire site. They really wanted to go for that laundry as well as that freezer execute. But then we saw them put 2 members of SSG all the way at Big Tower and started pressuring down the main staircase there. So for me, it really seems as though they wanted to try and hit them from all sides and win those gunfights. But then on that initial entry, Bosco got taken down. So honestly, it could go either way, but I'm going to guess that the Sonics ended up winning that one. Hey.
And you would be correct. We just got confirmation from the admin team that Sonics indeed win that round. More likely the game is going to stop now, so we're not going to see anything else. Most importantly, because hey, we have to remake the lobby at this point. So it's going to be a couple minutes here, folks. We'll piece everything back together real fast and look to resume the game exactly where it left off after that round's conclusion, of course. The Sonics now 1 round up. Will be coming closer and closer to tying things. The scoreline should now be at 4-3, if memory serves me correctly.
Fantastic. And while we're waiting, actually a pretty fun stat for you guys that I just so happened to see on Parsec while we were sitting here. Our spectator has 1,500 hours on a level 6 account. So that's something. That's a lot of spectation going on these last 2 stages. So once again, thank you, Sayana. We appreciate you for sitting there for all that long extended period of time. But back to SQ versus SSG. Those defensive rounds look really solid for SSG throughout the entire time. Even the rounds that they lost, they still looked like they had a chance to bring it back. Inside of that last round, though, when SSG initially gets onto offense, it's pretty slow beginnings. They really didn't start going for that execute until well within their last minute. And that might be the main problem for them. They weren't really able to apply too much pressure to the actual site and force errors to happen on the defensive end. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the Soniqs, able to pick up that initial kill and then steamroll over the entire team. If we continue to see this turtle effect happen for the Soniqs, where they're allowed to just exist inside of sight and nothing really happens, SSG could be going to that third map.
We'll have to see if that'll hold true, but I certainly agree with you, and I think that issue of the members of SSG not being able to put adequate pressure onto the Soniqs until they got to the site, at which point they're battling against Sonic's setup, which will more than likely work into their favor. That could continue to be a problem. You know, you think about Kids' dorm setup, you could very easily pull off something similar to what the Soniqs were doing in basement on that site. Even going over to cafeteria, you've got the same thing working there. It has to be a little bit more active simply because of the showers hold, but you could keep that same similar flair to what we just saw from the Soniqs for the next 2 rounds. And at that point, afterwards, you're just unlocking the basement again, so you're just kind of running around the bend at that point. And if it's going to work on all 3 sites, how exactly does SSG look to get past that kind of playstyle? Because the first round here, just as you said, it doesn't really look very convincing. They failed to get really any pressure at all onto the Sonic setup until they got to the actual site.
I think it goes back to Villa and how SSG was handling a lot of their offenses on that map. I mean, we saw some really, really strong stuff from them, but it was mainly based off of how they were using their utility to handle portions of the map. We saw them clear out a lot of the, site rooms and making it difficult for these Soniqs members to sit still and allow what's happening to happen. They have to take these gunfights, otherwise SSG gets a plan off, and I think that that's where the disconnect is right now for SSG. They're just not getting the pressure early enough on with that utility to force Soniqs to move. But the Soniqs had some really, really good positioning there. Again, super inside of that closet, paying in dividends when it came down to it. I mean, it was going to be very hard for them to try and get around that setup when it comes to that freezer laundry execute.
Important thing to note, of course, all these judgments are just based off of a single round, and we are now back in game, folks. So let's head back into it here and see if SSG can bring a little bit more pressure to the table here against the Soniqs now that they are going to be shifting up into a Kids' dorms defense. Just in case anybody missed what we were talking about before, during our disconnect, it was just the observer that disconnected. The players were unaffected by that. So the round continued to play out. The Soniqs won it, which means we've gone from a scoreline of 4-2 to a scoreline of 4-3. Still in the favor of SSG, but now only by 1 round.
We're going to have the biggest 6 pick of this century coming in. Rampy 6-picking Jackal to Jackal. And then Super 6-picking away from the Mira, bringing Kate along for the ride. Not the worst 6-pick in the world. Mira doesn't have the best application to this site, so bringing along some wall denials, not the worst thing in the world, mainly because, if you have wall denial and they rotate a hard destructor with nobody else to really handle anything, then you're going to keep that wall locked. The only problem is that Bosco is here, and Bosco's playing Maverick, so he's going to be able to handle a lot of these issues all on his lonesome. SSG really just has to respect any possible roam game going on from the Soniqs, and these walls should get handled pretty easily.
So take a look, see if there's anything crazy going on with the setup here. It doesn't necessarily look like you do. The one reinforcement downstairs is just opening up a bit of play capability for Iconic or whoever is going to be playing around the kitchen, however. And aside from that, everything looks relatively standard within the site itself. A couple additional reinforcements, but again, even that, nothing too far departed from what we normally expect here. As the setup is now complete for the Soniqs, we will go into the action phase of the round here. SSG spawned out, and we're going to see a little bit of pressure coming from them immediately over here onto the arsenal windows and the front door area.
Main focus for SSG right now is that armory area, as you were saying. Tons of drones right now for SSG, making sure everything's clear. We'll see if Fultz gets control of that, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So SSG wants to apply some pressure to Trophy Room really early on here. They just need to have someone back up Fultz here for the refrag, but the Soniqs members have already backed up, respecting this control, and probably not the worst idea in the world when it comes down to it, strictly because Fultz trying to battle his way into Trophy is not exactly what you want to try and put your face into. So they're going to give that control up, lean on the wall denial, and what utility they have inside a site.
a late reinforcement coming in there from the Soniqs, but thankfully it's done with minimal risk. Just a little bit of extra security against any big window pushes that we might see from SSG by doing that far left wall from our current perspective. Folt's going to be throwing out, I believe, one of his breaching charges there. Should have been able to deal with utility on the floor, more than likely a Malusi, just looking at what the defenders have access to. Him and a teammate are going to switch out positions, and we'll more than likely see the Ashe rotating into a different spot entirely now as she hops out the window and indeed is going to start executing from a different position. Might be trying to get in position over here towards the kids' stairs, or actually on rappel is the way that's actually going to play out. In the meantime, SSG is doing work on the walk-in. They're going to open up that avenue of play, and this is now where the rotate from Fold starts to make a lot more sense. Gets up on rappel against the game's window and can now punish anybody who tries to swing from the attic hold, as more than likely they're not necessarily going to be expecting Foltz on this current angle.
Yeah, this is going to be the strongest cross that they have at their availability for games. This is going to be one of the most important positions for Foltz to play, so he needs to stay on top of that magazine and make sure that he has this held when this plant starts to go down. Slebin going to get stunned inside of attic. Canadian currently inside of trophy, so this plant could be going down really anywhere. Thinking they worried about the double, but obviously the real pressure going to be coming in from that trophy side. They're simply here to cut off any rotations from these Soniqs members. Getting into these last couple of seconds, this is where we need to see this execute happen now, and it's happening fast for SSG. A bunch of kills pouring in. That's going to be a double for Bosco as they now have dorms clear. We need to see the plant start going down, but easily with a nice kill inside of attic. Smokes off the attic door. Iconic picks up one. The planter has been stopped. Iconic with a double kill now, but it's down into the 1 versus 2. Doesn't exactly know where the last remaining member is, but he hears one directly above him. The plant starts for Bosco, but it's going to be a fake. He initially adjusts here, but he needs to start throwing that back down now. It's going to be thinking nade for the cross here as the plant starts. Looking for him. Almost gets him. Thinking nade gets in the way. He's a bullet sponge, but he shoots back. SSG able to win that round. So scary there for just a split second.
Iconic trying so hard to find a safe angle with which to kill that planter from. Nearly gets it done too. Got some damage onto the planter and even forced him to cancel it out so that wouldn't end up going down to a 1 versus 1. But swiftly, we see another member of SSG thinking nade in that situation, able to get into a position to confirm the kill onto Iconic and make sure that SSG do come out as the winners of that round. They're ahead once again. We're right back to where we started at the beginning of this half with a 2-round deficit in the favor of SSG. Also only 2 more rounds away from closing out this series now. They just need 7 here to seal the deal. See a 6 pick from the Soniqs as they're going to retry Kids Hold here. They came very close to winning it, so let's try it again. And the Warden's also going to be brought back in place of the Cade.
I think that this is a really, really good 6 pick here. As you said, the Kaid not actually having really anything to do with the outcome of that last round. He really didn't have anything except for his gun and possibly a nitro cell, but we didn't see anything come from either of those. We're going to have Warden along for the ride this time around, and I think this is going to be a great addition to this lineup. You put Super over onto the Malusi, that's going to slow down these SSG members quite a bit, but having Gomfi have access to the goggles is going to be a really, really big play, mainly because SSG has been leaning on these smokes to try and force their way into sight. It's not in the same fashion that the Soniqs were doing things with the Candelas, you know, in tandem with those smokes, but it's definitely still something, and it's quite funny because for quite some time, we were talking about how we really didn't see smoke plants happen anymore, but as soon as you know, throwable denier gets banned like Wamai or Jaeger, they just become so potent. So it's nice seeing these kind of make their entry back into competitive Siege, especially since we already had Warden primed and ready for a meta like this.
30 seconds of the round already having gone by. Not too much to waste, of course, but SSG are trying to move their way into the building regardless. A lot of drone work already being done up here on the second floor, and a few players already in similar positions to where they were in the previous round. Foltz moving into the armory and taking that. Rampy just droning things out from the inside of Garage. The rest of the team not too far behind. There are defenders in similar positions as the last round as well. The 3-man turtle on the site, and then you've got Super and Iconic looking to punish anybody who would try to go in from small tower, or even try to clear out the main hallway from the front lobby there, looking to punish them with that nice crossfire. Not going to get any takers in that specific respect, but that doesn't mean we can't see 1 or 2 of them get a bit aggressive and try to swing out against the lobby hold from some of the other members of SSG.
Well, we'll have to see if the Soniqs want to try and adjust anything. They still have access to 2 roamers, Super and Iconic both downstairs. This is what we've seen from the Sonics on a regular basis here on Oregon, having Iconic and Super around that kitchen security area. Could see a rotation come through for Super, though. He has access to the freezer staircase and a nitro cell, so could be problematic for the offense if they don't adhere that warning. Super currently standing on top of that freezer staircase like we were just talking about, and this is the danger of Oregon. There's so many avenues for these roamers to try and work their way around the map, and SSG just has to respect that. They've done a good job so far, though. Worried about map control as well as these walls already have breaches open and working their way towards double.
Easy will start to deny things with his smoke charges, blocks off the trophy doorway for the first player that tries to swing against it. So begins the delay, and he's got quite a bit of time left on the clock, so he'll need to stagger the remaining ones if he really wants to run the timer down, but he's not even going to get a chance to. An ace nade from Bosco lands right on Easy's feet and explodes not too farther after that, taking him out of the picture and making sure that SSG doesn't have to worry too much about those remaining smoke charges. Let's make it 2 as well, as he's also going to be able to find out Gomfy, and now a third being picked up before finally being traded down by Super. Super nearly with a 360 follow-up there, but that's all his team is going to get on this round, as Fultz and Rampy clean up the stragglers and give us a very quick round from SSG.
Well, SSG has most definitely woken up. That was a dominant offensive round, but it was highlight after highlight there for Boss Goat inside of the master closet, worrying about the flank, worrying about site players, and hitting that nitro cell, that frag grenade like Aaron Rodgers out there, tossing that thing right towards the door, able to clean up easily as that initial entry. And when you're able to clean up a smoke as the first kill, that site access is just there for the taking. They no longer have access to a lot of things to try and slow you down. It's really just worrying about those explosives, as well as some Banshees placed around by Malusi. Now, big problem here for the Sonics. They have to go 3 rounds in a row. Perfection. Perfect siege. Otherwise, they are going into our next series up against Disrupt, and SSG have a map advantage later today inside of that best of 5.
Let's see if they can do it. It is going to be on the basement defense, where once more, things looked great for them. We didn't get to see the actual execute from this basement defense due to the unfortunate disconnect from the observation team, but we have a pretty good idea of what more than likely happened, and that's just this very turtley defense from the Sonics that worked out great when they tried it before. SSG spent a solid 2 minutes looking for an opening pick that was never even going to present itself to them, even if they had continued to wait down the timer, and as a result of that, had to go for a very, very tough 5-on-5 execute with pretty much none of the defending utility cleared out. It will go pretty much as expected, and Sonic is able to win that one out to give them, so far, what's been their only round on defense so far.
Well, the Sonics going to be adopting the Warden in once again, and that's a really good plan because SSG have already flipped the script. We have Rampy along with Ying here inside of our possible last round. This is going to be a nice pickup here for SSG. They have so much soft destruction as well as throwables to burn through these ADSs, as well as utilizing these smokes and stuns to try and get this execute to go off. This entire round for the Sonics, unless some major picks happen, are going to be leaning on Iconic. There is so much access to utility here for SSG. These smokes are going to be guaranteed along with those Candelas. Let's see how SSG tries to handle this.
Bit of a slow start, as we kind of expected, given the defense that the Sonics put up on the previous attempt here, and given their overall player lineup right now. When you look at just that massive stack down in the site, SSG will find this fact pretty quickly and realize that it's going to be similar to the last attempt, so probably not going to be wasting too much time with trying to set their players up for those early picks. You can already see Fultz looking for one as he works his way down the freezer stairs. He's got a drone to support this push right now, and he'll see. I believe that's easily right around the corner from him if he decides to swing. Now, whether he'll commit to this or not is another question. It's still very early days as far as an execute is concerned. It looks like he does make the more conservative choice to back up, regroup with the rest of their team, which is still upstairs dealing with some of the hatches.
And the Sonics really want to play for this execute, and you can't blame them at all. A lot of their utility leans on that. SSG trying to get forceful on site, and they either slow them down or stop them dead in their tracks. So for the Sonics, it's just going to be finagling around the site until SSG initially goes for this execute. We could see some aggressive plays here towards the back stairs, but it's going to be led off here by Sleben as he's playing towards construction door. Rampy now postured on the back staircase. Could have our initial engagements. Candela's out, and he's going to hear that prime charge as well. Do we have any ADSs back here? That's going to be the initial question. SSG look to try and get some pressure onto Slevin, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Some good pressure, and it's going to get confirmed as well. Rampy with the double kill. Volts follows through. This executes looking beautiful for SSG so far. Gompy tries to fight back, but the mag dump doesn't find anything. Iconic's been killed across the map. They know exactly where this last member is, as SSG sends the Sonics to the lower bracket.
SSG just looks too strong on these executes, even against the full turtle setup from the folks over on the Sonics. It is no match on the second go around here for SSG's own attacking pressure and entry pressure on top of that. Beautiful stuff from them. They get a very swift closeout to this series in 2-0 fashion. They've guaranteed themselves at least a 1-0 series score heading into the grand finals later today for our best of 5. And now they get to sit back and watch while both the Sonics and Disrupt have to fight each other for the honor of facing SSG in the grand final.
Sit back and watch, more like sit back and take a nap. For gamers, this is an early time, John. They need to go back, take that little cat nap real quick for our next best of 3, and then jump right back into it. But I can tell you this, whichever team has to go up against SSG inside of that best of 5, good luck, because that was some extremely dominant gameplay when SSG finally hit their stride.
All right, guys, we'll stick with it. We're going to take it back over to the analysis desk right now to break things down at the end of our first series and start getting us ready for our second match of the day.
Thank you, gentlemen, and great casting by the duo. Blue and Stokes. Is always good hearing you guys in my headphones, but this was a wild ride. Map number 1 was really close to Villa, but Oregon came around, and Space Station just seemed to just propel into space with this big dub. Great gameplay all around from all the players, and they will move on to be the very first team in the finals.
This is what I was talking about. Space Station very clearly have something in their back pocket for this map, and they played it down to a T. It wasn't as close as the Villa affair from before, but Sonics had a game plan going in and just couldn't adapt nearly as quickly as Space Station did. It was a good back and forth. Sonics gave it a shot, but having 6 straight bans over the past 3 months, not playing it a single time in Stage 2 of the NAL, I don't know if the Qualifier is the best place to break out a map where you literally haven't shown any strats for it before, but hey, they made it count and now they're in the grand final.
Yeah, I mean, Sonic, like, they gave it their best shot, but SSG definitely showing that they make Candelas go burr better than Sonics can, and that's basically what happened this map. I thought that there was a lot of blind people this entire game, but, you know, SSG, they took advantage of that and walked away with the dub.
It was pretty intense, but once again, congrats SSG, the Space Boys, once again in the finals. Something that they're not a stranger to hearing all the time, especially since December when they won the U.S. Nationals. But boys, let's break down this game bit by bit, because that was pretty much a doozy. Jesse, big brain at the table, right?
Yeah.
You spoke a lot about the utility play coming in from Space Station, but it had to do with the meta in a way that's different than the way we usually describe it. You're talking about the way they use flashbangs and also smokes to help them out big, especially when it came to objective play and clearing sight.
Yeah, Stokes talked about this a little bit live during the cast, and like we've really seen, particularly in this map, but we've seen it in other maps, flashes and smokes and candelas really be a big part of the attacker strategy now. The fact that smoke plants are becoming more and more popular, I think is, you know, a large part due to Ace getting back in the meta and Ying getting some buffs as well. Some really strong operators are bringing smokes, and we saw it a little bit on Villa with SSG's attacks, but now both teams were really bringing it hard on Oregon with all of this utility, and I think the Warden is really proving to be a huge, impactful operator. We saw Rampy in that one round in the dining defense, you know, have a huge impact just because of the fact he could see through the smokes, he could see through the candelas. It's been a really interesting meta shift that we're kind of going back to this Ying and smoke plant meta that we haven't seen in Siege for a long time now. It's pretty neat to watch.
Jesse, do you think anytime soon we're gonna see Glass in the mix as well?
Yeah, dude, totally. With his buff, Glass is like absolutely viable. We already saw Mirage rocking a bit of it yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised to see more teams rocking Glass.
All right, now Jacob, my man. All right, now you gave me a quote. Let me see if I remember it. The Sonics were competitive this entire series, but it seemed like the team that had the ball were in control the whole game. Did I get that right?
Yeah, for the most part, I think they had a really good performance the whole way through, but it could have come down to the past, you know, last 2-3 rounds. They could have turned things around. it very well was a case of the team that had the ball at the very end of the game went on to win the whole thing because of how back and forth it was. That was the case on Villa. When we got to Oregon, it was definitely more lopsided in SSG's favor, but this to me doesn't seem like a win that was so dominant for SSG that there was no chance for the Sonics to come back. They had ample opportunity to make things work, and it wasn't as much of a steamroll. I still felt like SQ had an opportunity to get back in it literally whenever.
I mean, Jacob, look at the stat lines right now. I mean, one of these things is not like the other, so to say. The Sonics, they're going to face off against DG next time. And you cannot tell me with a straight face that looking at this stat line right here, what we saw in Oregon, that this is the Sonics that we need to see in the next series.
I don't know if this is the same Sonics that we saw from yesterday. Now, granted, they're not going up against the world champions in their next match, so that's
Right.
obviously a big reason for why we saw a performance dip, as far as I can tell. But I don't like seeing this, man.
You know,
we were hyping up Iconic at the beginning of yesterday, and to see the way that SQ have traversed through this bracket so far, we all thought he'd be more of a carry, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
All right, now, this was our players to watch, and you know what? Bad games happen in Rainbow Six Siege. A player can have an off day and go 3-8, and you know what? They can flip the switch. And what happens when they flip that switch, Jesse?
Well, they can pop off, and they can really make the entire difference for a team, and I think that Iconic is one of those players for the Sonics. I will say on Oregon, I don't think he did that bad. I think he started off really nice. Round 2, he had a great play, with his grenades and his plant coverage. I thought he was playing really well in attack. I think he slowed down a little bit as this match went on and, never really had that same impact that we've seen from him in the past. But I still believe he's a great player. I said it after map 1. I think he's going to heat up. I still think that, there's potentially a long day ahead of the Sonics. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for Iconic to show up and have a huge impact like we know he can.
This is a marathon, not a race if your name is Susquehanna Sonics. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have an interview with the coach of the winning team. My man, Lycan. Let's get him up on the screen. I can't wait. I love him. All right, Lycan, are you there? Do you hear me, man?
Yep, I hear you.
It's going all right. First off, congratulations. There's a question I've been waiting to ask you so far. Jesse has touched on it a few times. He said he's spoken to you about some role changes with your team, and my question is, did it have to do with the meta? Were you guys bored, or did it have to do with the recent is a slump from your championship ways?
Yeah, I think there's more than one reason. I think a little bit of everything you just said goes into the fact of why we decided to do it.
Okay.
Also, too, a lot of it is we get a lot of our information from Troy, and Troy being inside the site allows him to stay alive a long time and just call everything out. Also, too, Fultz being on the roam with Rampy just gives us that extra little bit of aggressiveness instead of how we've been playing for a long time, and I think we just needed a change,
I'm sorry, my visual effect is activated. I'm turning it off right now. Another question. Speaking of Fultz and Rampy, the entry fraggers, in video games, we always give a lot of props to the players that pop off, have highlight plays, they get the most kills in the lobby. Thinkinade, he gets that a lot, but sometimes he gets overshadowed by his teammates. The last game of the season, I believe, he didn't have too much of a hot time, but today he was a beast. The throw went off. Behind the scenes, we don't hear much about Thinkinade. Does he have much to say about his performance and the community perception of that one game that he had that wasn't so good?
Nate's a very quiet person. I feel he doesn't normally ever complain, and he'll say stuff when things get to a point where they're too much. So he's kind of the pulse of the team in a way. He takes all the kind of bad stuff that we make him do and doesn't really say much, and we don't always give him a good chance to make him go crazy, so you guys don't get to talk about him a lot. Or I just feel the spectator never watches him because what he's doing isn't fun to watch. But we couldn't do what we do without Nate. Period.
True. That's the honest truth. All right, and one last time before I give you the microphone to thank your fans and wait until the finals start. Disrupt Gaming against Sonics. We ask the analysts at the desk for predictions all the time, but I'm gonna leave it up to you. Who do you really think is gonna make it in the finals? To the finals to play against you guys?
I think if you just go purely on the fact that they've already played each other, like now you're talking about which team can prep better on one day. I would say Soniqs, period. Just the way that they, who they have on their team, their experience, and it's going to depend on the map bans. But I think that the players and coach on that team can prepare better on one day than DG. But I mean, with that said, like they went to the last map, like one round, you know, like anything can happen.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, and I want to thank you so much for this interview. And one last time, any last word to the fans before we see you play to make it to the NA Major once again?
Yeah, of course. Everyone that's out there, like supporting us through this like struggling time, we want to thank you so much for supporting us and being behind us and rooting for us. If you guys can tell from most of our tweets, we don't have much to say right now because there's no that way that we can talk when we're playing the way that we are. So we're just looking to own back like where we believe we should be, and until we're there, we're just going to keep our heads down and grind.
All I'm gonna say is, if this is your struggling time, I wish my best was your struggle. So, thank you for the interview once again, man. I'll see you later on, and I wish you the best of luck in the finals. All right?
All right, thanks, man.
Anytime. Tell the boys I love them. All right, Jacob, Jesse. Any thoughts, either of you, about that interview just now?
I mean, I thought that he put it really politely, I think, about how the team is feeling right now, at that final moment about this being sort of their downtime. I don't know what it is about the qualifier, but every time we see teams winning in the qualifier, they're always so humble. They're always like, man, we're playing awful. Things are going bad. Same with DG 3 months ago, right? So, I like what you said at the end there, Veli. I agree. If I played ranked half as well as these guys play on their worst days, I'd be playing all day.
We'll get out that climb, all right? But the next match that's coming up, Jacob, we have our second elimination match, man. Are you ready?
I'm ready because it's a rematch of arguably one of the better best of threes that we saw from yesterday.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm ready for these two guys to tear the house down again, but ultimately it'll come down to map selection and how the Soniqs are feeling after coming off of a loss. So we got a couple different elements to throw at you from how we played out yesterday. I think this is going to go down almost the same. We'll find out.
Yep, I just can't wait. So the rematch is going to happen. Soniqs against Disrupt Gaming, the loser. They're home, but they're still going to go home. It's going to be an elimination game. So for those of you at home, don't touch your browser. We'll be right back after this short break.